Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for tuning us on in as we're going to have a fun show talking UFOs tonight with JIULIO Consiglio, who is back, and Dirty Filth is here with his cartoons, and all of you are here, which makes it that much more special. Let's say hello to everyone in roll call. We got Race Fan back in the gold medal position, and B looking awesome tonight with the silver, and Simon in Australia taking home the bronze. Hey, Roy Boy, Nightmare, Steam Train Mark, please let me know if I am alive in the future. I would greatly appreciate that if you wouldn't mind. So please let old Davey know. John Hinoyosa, how you doing, man? Michael Morris, good to see you, my friend. Awesome Ann Palmer, nice to have you back. Let's see here. There's Mennonite Abe. He's a good Mennonite kid. Demore Nahas, welcome to SOR Chat, and thank you so much for kicking off the Super Chat tonight with that wonderful super sticker. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, so thank you so much for the Super Chat. National Memorial is here. National Memorial will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Gorgeous Kathleen Hughes, Black Dragon, one of our favorite veterans, a former Marine, is just a great dude. Great dude. And we say thank you for your service, Black Dragon. And let's see, where else are we going here? Well, let's take a look here. Oh, another great veteran, Dennis Zuniga is here. Dennis will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, to the right of the studio. Hi, Dutch Hank, the gorgeous Trisha. How are you? And lovely Lisa Compton, nice to have you back. Dirty Filth, the gorgeous Jenny, nice to have you both here. And let's see who else is taking the time to say hello to us. Well, let's, there's Asteroid. Welcome back, my friend. And let's see here. Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. Alien Critter, Bobbert, nice to have you both here. Let's roll on down here. Millennium, my man, how are you, my friend? The gorgeous Dirt Road, nice to see you. And let's see, there's gorgeous Kathy Evans. On the rocks and in the soil, Michael Godbold, how are you, man? Thank you for coming in. And Lawrence Burchett, how are you, bud? Nice to have you back. And there's Brown Dwarf. And who else is hiding in the chat room here that we can see? Oh, there's Nicholas Shaughnessy. And who else? Mark Ellens, nice to have you back. Let's see. Hey, you were up in our... yes, we were supposed to get together, Mark, and we didn't get a chance. I got your message late. We will do it soon. We will do it soon, man. We will get together and hang out. All right. Simon, thank you so much for that awesome super chat from Australia. Really do appreciate that, my man. And really thank you for everything you do as a wrench in our chat room. And let's see here. Michael Fontaine, another great veteran of the Army of the United States of America. Thank you for your service, man. Really appreciate that. Rayfin, how you doing? Good to have you back. All right. We got JIULIO Consiglio here. I might just go a little Spanish on him and make it a silent J just to have some fun with him tonight. But his hair is high and tight. He's clean shaven, and he is ready for you guys to talk about some UFOs tonight. Hi, stunning Samantha Hazelwood Gray. Nice to have you here. And I hope you didn't have to kick the Doug Shelby in the shins too much in order to get some listening room. All right, we got 25 seconds before we're going to launch. The story is open on our website, spacedoutradio.com. And don't forget, after the show, if you could, give us a thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs sideways, and leave a comment after the show. Let us know what you think of tonight. It really helps us with our algorithms, everyone. And we appreciate the love and support. But for now, the only support we need is to get our horns up. And let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We got a great show for all of you tonight as JIULIO Consiglio is here. We're going to talk some UFOs, ET contact, disclosure, you name it. We are going down that road. Then in hour number 3, the Swamp Dweller will be back with another spooky story. We got Grant Baker filling in for Tim Senor on the UFO report. Shirky Poo will have the news. JIULIO Consiglio, a good Canadian kid, is a spiritual author and teacher who focuses on the transformative power of inner stillness, the mind-body-spirit connection, and psychic abilities development. His message is that there is life beyond fear and incessant thinking, and it is found in the dimension of inner stillness, something Dave is not very good at. JIULIO currently offers his conscious-based teachings to individuals and groups. He is also the author of a few books like Challenge Your Thoughts, The Healing Frequency, Open Your Third Eye, Activate Your Sixth Chakra, and Develop Your Psychic Abilities, and Cosmic Contact, Spiritual Insights into Triangular UFOs, Extraterrestrial Communication, and Encounter Preparation. That's where we're going tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. JIULIO, it's great to have you back on Spaced Out Radio. How you doing, man?
Dave, it's an absolute pleasure to be back on your show. Thank you so much for inviting me back. I'm doing excellent. Thank you.
It's good to have you here, man, because there's a lot since the last time you were on the air with us. A lot that has gone on in the UFO world. I mean, all of a sudden, Congress happened. And, the hearings and it's opening up here. Canada is starting to talk some UFOs in Ottawa. Lou Elizondo is speaking again. Gary Nolan, the great Stanford professor, who's talking about ET contact and the studies of people who've been around UFOs and what's happening to their brains and everything. We're seeing a lot going on right now, JC. Can you keep up? How do you keep up?
I think you just have to sort of take back and observe everything that's going on and take everything you hear with a grain of salt. So there's so much information coming out. And personally, I tend to side a bit more with Dr. Stephen Greer, for example. I've been following his work for the past year or so. And to just be cautious, in terms of, is there some sort of agenda behind what they're trying to put out? So my gut feeling, and through my channeled work, is that true disclosure is going to come from citizens who've had direct experiences, and but ultimately everything is leading up to contact. So I don't see anything really as negative. I see it as information, and what we do with that information is up to us.
Very true. How did you get your start in UFOs for our listeners who may not be familiar with you or are brand new to the show and haven't heard you speak yet?
Sure. So my path started with spirituality. I've been writing on spirituality and transcendence of the thinking mind for about 16, 17 years now. Come October 2020, with two neighbors in the backyard, early October, we had our first initial sighting. It was actually two sightings within a few minutes. That began, opened the door to just unimaginable experiences. The following week, we experienced a black, silent, slow moving triangle just a few hundred feet above the townhouse. And the interesting thing is, I sort of stepped away from them while we were back there talking, and I got the vibrational urge actually to look up. And this thing was pretty blended in the night sky. And ever since that particular event, the sightings have just increased, and the experience is more and more profound since then. And a lot of these experiences have been captured on video and are I've posted on social media.
For you, when it came out of nowhere in 2020, did you immediately recognize that it was extraterrestrial, or did it take some time to sink in that maybe there was some other power out there that was trying to communicate with you?
The two initial experiences left us a little bit sort of asking more questions than anything. What was that? Could it have been this? Could it have been that? You know, but the night that we experienced that initial triangle experience, the vibrational hit that hit me to look up, that spoke volumes to me, because I operate, for several years now, really through energy, frequency, and vibration. Uh, all around us in in the space around us is nothing but energy information. So that sort of gave me the insight that this was something beyond capabilities, or beyond, either interdimensional or beyond this world, because of that telepathic or vibrational information that came to me. The triangle was so blended in the night sky, and when my one neighbor, Matt, looked up, he thought he was looking at birds moving slowly. I said, no, come take a closer look. And you start seeing circular pads underneath this craft. So it was that initial energy exchange that told me this is something more, than something from this world.
How has it made you feel knowing that you're 2 years in and there's this utter weird connection to something that shouldn't really exist, yet here it is, plain as day, pretty much now, almost any time you want?
I've described the experiences as being quite profound. They're quite spiritual. They're quite uplifting. And in the latest book, I sort of related to my initial awakening in 2005. It's right up there. It's that profound, that uplifting, and to realize that there's a connection, and that connection is through oneness. So there are several instances where I've been in the house and I've gotten that signal, that urge to go outside. There's going to be action, and I've ignored it, only to receive a text message from a neighbor saying, "Get out here. There's some things starting." And then once I get out there, all heaven breaks loose, I'll say.
Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. So for you, being a spiritual person as it is, was this something that you were expecting, or did it just come out of nowhere?
Absolutely not. I did not expect this. Like I always knew there was more to life than in this grand, massive universe. But I never expected that I would be, getting receive contact, and especially like once the door opened, how much it accelerated, going from a sighting about once a month to then about once a week to literally several times a night to virtually every time I step out there, it's either, and I have several of these posted on Instagram, either a spontaneous flash of light, and then I start interacting and asking it to do it again, and it does it virtually on call. It's pretty, it, you know, it doesn't get old. Let's say it does not get old.
A lot of people, when they see the bright flashing lights, and I know what you're saying, I have had weird experiences with those two that to this day I still cannot explain. But this is in the dead of night. It's well past sunrise or sunset, where it's believed that satellites can still reflect sunlight up to a couple hours after sunset. Okay, because the satellites are just so high up there, they can still have some sort of reflection from the sun. But this is going on at all weird times, and it's right over your house. It's right in your, it's almost prophetic that you stare up in the sky and you're like, okay, guys, where are you? And then boom, like almost on your command. I mean, a lot of people call it summoning. Do you believe you're a summoner?
If that's the description, I would probably say so, because there have been instances where I'm a very light sleeper, so there are times at 4 or 5 in the morning I get the urge to go outside. And just a few weeks ago, I stepped out and it wasn't quite light out, and two of the objects came in flanking each other, and there have been times where I'll be out there and let's say 40 minutes will come by. I'll see some ships or some craft, let's say three of them cruising by each other in the night. And then I'll say, well, there really hasn't been anything up close. So I go to the back porch and let's say a few minutes pass by and I say, are you guys here? Because if you're not, maybe I'll just go inside. Because I approach this with great with non-attachment. If they show up, wonderful. If they don't, uh, that is, I think, a big part of it. So they realize that. So the moment I said that, wham, two orbs about 30 feet just cruised over the townhouse, paralleling it. And again, I have several of those videos. I have three of them pinned on my Instagram. It's just incredible.
That is just amazing. I mean, how often is this happening for you?
It's now happening. If the night is fairly clear, it's essentially every time I head out. We had late April. It was me and my two neighbors, and I caught some of it on film. But we literally had a show for about an hour where this transforming object appeared as three circles, sort of intertwining with each other, rows of lights. One was bow shaped, and I actually have a recording of that one, and it's so faint, but I if I screenshot it, you can see the bow. So it, it's not like you have one sighting. This has now become every time I step out, I place my attention, or if I say, "Are you there?" Go bright. It starts. Most times than not.
Now, when this happens, what do you go through? How do you know that they're calling you outside to come have a look?
It's usually a few things. So it's either a vibrational hit, and it's very similar to when I'm writing. So it's like an instant download of information. So it's essentially just an inner knowing. There have been other times where, and this has been happening even just before my shift. So I'm talking 2004, where I would see spontaneous flashes of light, and I didn't truly understand what that was. And now it's gotten to the point where they're just more obvious. And another way I would describe it is blue orbs sort of appearing, and then
Right.
I head out, and there's stuff literally waiting for me. I'll look out in the sky. I'll step out on the porch, look left, and immediately there's two objects, and I've got it on video, just ascending vertically. And I start recording, and then they dim out. So they operate through the dimension, the quantum field. So they operate through that stillness, and the energy is received as vibration, frequency, just a knowing, and anyone can get to that state. It's just sort of really being present, especially in the moment.
So when they are coming in, are they always blue orbs? Are they coming in from all sorts of directions, or is it usually from the east, or maybe the west, or north or south?
Well, the blue orbs are part of sort of what happens in my living room. So I'll get these little bursts of light. But when I step outside, essentially wherever my sight line is directed is where, initially I thought, oh, this is synchronicity. It's not synchronicity. They're lining up to wherever I'm looking. But most times, if I'm in a neutral position, I'll get the hit to look left, look straight up, and then there's phenomena happening. Other times, for some reason, the northwest sky, this transforming triangle has really liked operating back and forth through there. So, but the spontaneous flashes of light, I mean, I've pretty much had it happen directly above me in the center of the backyard to virtually every angle. I was on the sidewalk not too long ago, maybe a week or two ago, talking to one of my sisters, and the spontaneous flashes of light started to happen. I said, Jer, I got to get off the phone. They're here. And then, the interaction starts. And the excitement I feel is not only within myself, that uplifting feeling, that feeling. I sense it all around me. And a lot of times my neighbors are back there with me. I'm calling out where we're going to see stuff. And I'm going to say with about 90 to 95% of the time, I'm fairly accurate where they're going to be.
Wow. That's pretty strong right there in order to do that. There's a lot of critics regarding the whole idea that we have as humans the ability to summon UFOs. And, I've done it. I can't do it anymore. I don't know why, but I just can't seem to do it anymore. But for you being able to do this anytime you want, what do you say to the critics out there who don't believe that this ability is real?
I sort of relate it to even the direct experience of inner stillness or spirituality. Just because you have not experienced something in particular does not for one instant negate its reality. So these experiences have been incredibly personal. So, awareness is very powerful. So what you become aware of, in essence, is what you give life to. So I was always open to this anyways. And it wasn't like I tried to make it happen. It happened to me. And that's sort of how I operate when I live, essentially moment by moment, through that dimension of inner stillness. There's not really effort. It's just in that surrendered state, and you're allowing miracles and just experiences to come to you and through you.
What does that feel like when it comes through you?
The experiences are there's almost words are difficult to describe it, but the experiences, the energetic hits, and then going out there and having that validation, and thankfully experiencing it with two other guys, that made it a lot easier, especially to even come forward. Because when I was initially seeing this stuff, and then thankfully I started catching it on film, it was May where I actually caught this transforming object appear as 5 orbs and cruise right across my townhouse. I was ecstatic. My neighbor was actually with me. He left for a moment to go take his girlfriend somewhere, and within a minute it appeared, and I was luckily able to capture it. So it's quite profound. Words almost escape me.
For those who haven't experienced this part of the phenomena, do you feel that you were talking or being transmitted to by an extraterrestrial presence, an ultra terrestrial presence, or time travelers? What do you think they are?
That's an excellent question. And as I was working on this book and channeling, I get the sense that essentially they're, first of all, a future version of us. So we're all, this is important, I think, to state, in one sense, because we're spiritual beings coming into this dimension, in one essence, we are all time travelers. And coming into this dimension, we are experiencing space and time, but really, you know, in the quantum field, the eternal moment of now is all there is. So these visitors are future versions of us, but they're also, some of these phenomena are parts or aspects of the higher mind. So there is so much more going on here than what we as human beings have come to understand, even in terms of reality, than we can imagine. So in one stroke, that they are future versions of us coming back to help us ascend and to raise in consciousness. They're here to offer ultimately technology. And I'll say this without a shadow of a doubt, my own inner knowing is they come in peace. And you don't reach that level of awareness. You don't have those gifts unless you're essentially, and this is important to mention, you're harmless. Because all of this, these experiences have been spiritual in nature. And I've come to know, like even through my own awakening, is physical reality is spiritual reality, only expressed or manifested.
So, with 2 minutes to go before we have to go to break, at the bottom of the hour, JIULIO Consiglio is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you look at things, that these pieces of contact are of an ethereal spiritual level? Or do you think it's one of the preparations that the aliens are around and or time travelers are around, and this is how they are starting to awaken people?
Absolutely. What I'll say first is there are multiple dimensions that are simply overlaid here, or parallel to us. These highly evolved beings can, along with their craft, upgrade or downgrade their energy signature. So their crafts can be 3D, their physical bodies can be 3D, or they can upgrade to a fifth dimensional, sixth dimensional, where they basically become etheric, seventh dimensional, where they're basically invisible to you, but someone with, for example, an activated third eye can still perceive them. But most times when they're above us, they're just in that spectrum of light where we can't see them, and they're in those higher fields, so that if a plane, for example, were to fly into them, it would essentially go through, because there would not be that same resonance of energy. So they are able to upgrade or downgrade their energy, and it's quite easy for them.
And I would agree with that. I would agree with that statement. You're a lucky man, people will say, that you have this ability to connect with ultra terrestrials, extraterrestrials, time travelers on a spiritual consciousness level. Not a lot of people, even longtime contactees, get the opportunity to do that. And as we got about 15 seconds to go here, I want to say that what you have going is something that is fleeting, and one day just may come to a stop. And I hope for you that it's not a long time. I wish it was still happening to me, because it's really cool, as you know, Julio, and to our audience out there tuning on in, when you can look up in the sky and you say, hey, where are you? And something all of a sudden starts flashing right above you, kind of to say hello back. It's more than just coincidence. It could be the real thing. Spaced Out Radio, second half hour, right after this on the Mighty SOR. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear, my man.
Dave, I'm feeling the crowd. I'm feeling it.
Oh, they are loving you so far.
It's pretty profound stuff, and even explaining it sort of blows my mind. Even though I've even written about it. It's just been, yeah.
I used to have friends over where I would call them during the day. I would say, hey, why don't you come over? We'll have a beer on the patio. We'll listen to some music. I had one of those little patio campfires with real wood that you could, light up. And I said, and then we'll watch some UFOs fly over. They'd be like, really? I'd be like, yeah. And they're like, oh, that doesn't happen, man. How do you know? And I say, I don't know, but I just know. And man, we had some experiences.
When you're open to it, I'm telling you, because they hear you, they can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
That universal connection is stillness, and they are essentially at almost all points in space and time are connected. So their advanced consciousness, is such that they are able to, tune into us. We can call them angels even, or extraterrestrials, but really they're just highly evolved beings. But we have that unifying factor between them and us, and it's that dimension of stillness that is within all of us. That's the universality that connects us with them, and that's why they're actually very interested in us. We're the greatest show in the universe right now, with this collective awakening that's going on. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I fully agree with you on that. That is for sure.
Yeah.
But for pretty much since I moved up here in 2015, just before that, I couldn't call anything in if my life depended on it. And only recently has it started happening again. And not to the point where they're getting close, but if I see one of the flashing, like for instance, on a normal night before I go to bed here after the show, or if it's on a weekend, I'll go sit out on my patio for a while, probably at midnight, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I don't sleep. And
you're like me.
I'll go out there and I'll just stare up at the stars and say, okay, show me where you are. Somebody come say hello. It's that simple.
Yeah.
And if they got you on the frequency, all of a sudden, poof, there's the light. And then if you say, can you do it again? Poof, there's the light. The most I ever had on one night, I was talking to a good friend of mine, Eric Markham. He's a scientist. We were on the phone together. And I saw this flash way in the north. And I said, can you come on over here? And flash. I said, can you let me know? Can you come right over my house? Flash. 19 flashes later.
Wow.
This thing is right over my house.
Wow.
I wish I had video, and there's only one person who, vocally heard what was going on.
Wow.
But this thing came from way far in the distance. Wow. Way far in the distance. And 19 flashes.
I'm going to say, I think you doubled me there. 2 nights ago, Triangle was above me, and it gave me about 7 in a row, but 19, holy smokes.
But they weren't like bang, bang.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple of times where it went dead for a little bit, and I would be like, I'd look it up. I'm like, okay, man, you got to show me where you are. Are you still coming over my house? And then all of a sudden, boom, there it is again. And it literally started way off in the northeast. And the 19th flash was right over top of my house. And it was a really, it wasn't any different than any other flash. But the funny part about it was that was the last flash over top of my house.
Oh. This craft in particular, January 4th, 2022, there's certain dates that are just like melted in my mind. I went to throw out recycling. It was a cloudy winter night, 9 o'clock at night. It let out such a powerful flash. Imagine like a Kodak camera, 10 million watts coming through. And after that flash, threw the coat on, went outside, and that's when I made the connection. It took me a year to connect the flashes and this transforming triangle, but I did eventually.
Right on. Yeah. Right on. We got about 25 seconds. Thank you to Simon and D. Moore for the super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you so much. And JIULIO Consiglio is Our guest tonight, Dirty Filth, is dirtying up a piece of paper, and it's looking good. And here we go in 5 seconds, everyone. Get ready. Here comes the second half hour. Second half hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Author, researcher, experiencer JIULIO Consiglio is here tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Right before the break, we were talking about summoning and how he has the ability to summon in UFOs. Now, you may or may not believe it, but I'm pretty sure JIULIO's the kind of guy who, if you question him, would say, hey, come on over to my place in Ontario. I'll show you how it's done, show you what we're looking at. JIULIO, welcome back.
Thank you for having me back, Dave.
There's a lot being said right now in the UFO world about experiencers and what is their role moving forward as disclosure moves forward. We know there is a giant study going on at Rice University with people who claim to be experiencers of the UFO and alien phenomena. You know, lately, Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford University has been very public about his research, along with Jacques Vallée, regarding experiencers and the trauma that any type of contact with UFOs or extraterrestrials seems to be doing to human brains. Have you been following this?
I've been hearing a little bit here and there, especially with the people who said they've been abducted or that the experiences have been traumatic. My personal experience hasn't been anything like that. If anything, it's actually expanded my awareness further. So I would approach that, I think, with a grain of salt. But ultimately, I think they're here, and I sense that they're here to really elevate humanity's consciousness and to assist us.
So the idea behind the that mainstream scientists are now starting to take this very, very seriously, and the human effects of this. You know, we're not talking about, crack scientists, JIULIO, who are, working for some community college or high school or even in their own garage. We're talking people from very accredited institutions in the educational system. I want to believe Gary Nolan. I think he is somebody who lets the statistics speak for themselves in a highly controversial subject. Do you see a time when, maybe more schools, universities, scientific research facilities are going to start looking into this more on their own?
I think they're not gonna, have any other option but do so, because the more that people have these experiences, the more that people come forward and seek answers, or suddenly, from what I've experienced, it's very life shifting and life changing. So someone who, for example, doesn't have that spiritual maturity and having experienced something can sort of shock the system. I can understand that, or even challenge your beliefs, especially in terms of reality and what's possible. So I think they're gonna have no other choice but to discuss this more, talk about it more, research it, and engage with people who've had these experiences.
Okay, so why is it important for the experiencers to be heard through this entire testimony that many people are calling disclosure?
I think it's important because it gives people who maybe don't have a voice to sort of come forward and to share similar experiences. So I think it's an opportunity for understanding, and to just, I think, on a general level, open people's minds more and more that this phenomena does exist, it does take place, and the experiences are quite personal. So one person's experience will be somewhat different from someone else's, and it's all on perception.
See, I'm somebody who believes I don't need my own disclosure. I've already had it through the experiences, Julio, that I've had. And you're probably the same way with yours. And if not, please correct me. But the idea behind, you know, disclosure, do you believe that disclosure is an individual process or something that is deemed higher in popularity, in government, in everything?
I'm gonna respond to that this way. So I think disclosure number one is gonna be a personal experience. So people opening up to the potential of having these experiences. So if you're approaching it and you're heart centered and you are open to it and you're approaching it even without fear, just allowing things to unfold, that's going to set the stage, because what we're for in a quantum field or a spiritual level, we're all one. So as one person sort of awakens to that, you sort of create a ripple in the collective consciousness. Now, going beyond that, the more people that I think are awakening spiritually are going to be opening up to these experiences. And what's going to happen eventually, and we're heading for a shift in consciousness on this planet, in this realm. And that the more people that experience this phenomena, it's going to get to a point where these beings end up just sort of coming forward one day, and sort of, when humanity has stepped away from hate, fear, violence, you're I sense there's going to be, at some point in time, just a mass sort of revealing of this phenomena. There is so much more in the quantum field that surrounds us, because we are in it. It's not somewhere outside of us, it's within us and without. The inner and outer worlds are one. So it's only a matter of time where these extraterrestrials that are connected to us through that dimension of stillness, which is universal, it's only a matter of time where it happens on a collective level.
Okay, so you're more, just to figure it out in my own mind, you are more of the idea that disclosure is of a personal level rather than anything the government can provide. Do you believe then that the government, if that's the case, is in the process of disclosure, or more so confirmation? Because in reality, they've said a lot, but they've left a lot out, my friend. They've left a lot out.
I'm going to say that disclosure on their part, um, I can't help but sense there's a narrative, like there's been with a lot of things. So it's essentially what they want people to hear. But I think it's important to understand that true disclosure is going to come from citizens who've had these direct experiences, that are open to it, that have recorded these sightings, not just sort of talking about it, speculating, because theory can never replace direct experience, and that's whether we're talking spirituality or whether we're talking about this phenomena. So again, I sort of side with Dr. Stephen Greer, where, disclosure's not going to really come truly from these agencies, but from direct experience, from hearing friends having experiences. Since we've been having these experiences back here, some of my neighbors' friends have opened up to it, and they're having experiences. I brought my sisters over one night, and like clockwork, they had quite a sighting, and my niece was here as well, and my two neighbors. So that's how I see it sort of truly happening.
Do you think the government has too many secrets I mean, it's an obvious question. I probably should ask a smarter question than this. But are you of the belief that the government has too many secrets to give a true disclosure?
I think from one perspective, they may be leading on that they know more than they do. That's my gut feeling, because in order to, from my understanding, to engage with this phenomena, to engage with these highly evolved beings, you're going to have to sort of meet them halfway. So they understand there's no way you can trick these beings. There's no way you can, uh, you know, convince them of anything. They are masters of energy. They are masters of mind. So I think from one point of view, they are leading on that they know more than they do, and personally, I'm not really buying it.
I don't think a lot of people are.
Yeah.
I really don't. I mean, it's such a slippery slope, especially when you hear many government officials saying, "Nah, we don't have to go beyond beyond the USS Nimitz incident of 2004, leaving out key cases like Roswell or the Phoenix Lights." I mean, yet this is happening every day. I mean, you're a citizen, I'm a citizen. The majority of people listening to this show are citizens outside of those who are tuning in from the Pentagon. And we say hello to all the Pentagon and alphabet of people who are listening in tonight. But when we look at it, this is something that will affect every human on this planet. This, next to Jesus Christ himself coming down from the heavens, Julio, what bigger story in humanity's history is there unless it's ET contact? I mean, that's beyond something like a nuclear holocaust or something along those lines. Trying to keep it, somewhat civil here.
Yeah, their arrival or people who are experiencing this, I mean, it is next level. It's confirmation that we're not alone. It's confirmation that there's much more than this reality, and that the manifested world, in terms or relative to the quantum field and the spiritual world, is infinitesimally smaller, virtually nothing compared to the totality of what truly exists in these parallel dimensions, parallel realities. So, you're right when you say, it's going to be quite profound and quite, up there. I agree completely with that.
What do you want to see more of?
I want to see people who choose to have contact, who experience it, people who are open to it, because, like I said, it's quite profound. In my writings, in this latest book, they've made it clear we're not your saviors. They want, they say, what's the purpose of us coming out full force, showing ourselves when people have not shifted or evolved and released or let go of that fear, the violence. They would just be another distraction. So what they're saying is, go within and literally find that inner self, that stillness. That's where you'll meet them. That's where you'll find them, because it's in that stillness that we realize that's what is the underlying principle, the life force that unites us all, that connects us all.
Well, for those who have had a spiritual awakening, that's easy for us to say and do.
Yeah.
Okay, but for those who are just learning about the topic, whether it's through the media or whether it's through their friends and conversations happening at the coffee dispenser at the office, I mean, it's really not a conversation you just get into. And, I mean, you can't walk into a Starbucks and say, "Oh, by the way, anybody here want to talk UFOs?" Doesn't work that way.
You have to gauge it, and that's I think with anything else, especially when even regarding spirituality. You don't want to be, it's like being on the 50th floor trying to talk to someone who's on the second floor. It's not that one floor is greater than the other. It's just that there's a difference in awareness or understanding. So, people have to be ready for this. But coming from an openness and really, like I said, just an open mind, an open heart, you open yourself up to these experiences. So they're it's not like they're not present. This craft is everywhere. They're everywhere, and they're virtually undetectable because that's what they choose to be, and they're revealing themselves to those who are ready ready to have that experience. So it exists whether one has experienced it or not. It's like anything else. And the moment you have that experience, so now you have the awareness of it, it's literally opening the door to now greater experience.
How do we know if we're actually opening up that door, though?
You're opening up that door when by first understanding or just knowing that there's more to life than what we see in this third dimensional reality. So, just coming from that space of, yeah, anything is possible, truly. Like, look at us, we're spiritual beings wrapped in meat suits, in this reality. It's when you really look at that, it's quite profound. So, coming from that awareness that anything is possible, coming from that awareness that a sighting is possible, that you can have a sighting if that's your desire. That's how you know if you're ready to sort of open that door.
Interesting. It's not like they put up a bat signal, say, hey, it's time for you to communicate. It's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to be a part of this movement. It's not like that at all.
It's not. And when I reflect back even on my initial sightings, there was a little bit of shock because, okay, especially with the triangle, that's not supposed to be there. But it's not like it was, I wasn't surprised in a sense. When I had that vibrational hit to look up, there was that initial, wow, that's pretty incredible. And I called the guys over. But I always knew that there was more to life, and I knew, that there was so much more, because even before these experiences, for the last several years, I've been having paranormal experiences. So I've seen apparitions, I've seen shadow people. I understand exactly what they are, but to experience this just brought it to a whole other level. And when I look back, even in my writings, my books, there's an evolution there. And just the book before this one, Open Your Third Eye, that just, in the last 4 or 5 years, my psychic abilities and my awareness have exponentially just expanded, and coming to the realization that your own psychic abilities have a consciousness of their own, because life is all there is. So your own abilities, those abilities want to express through you. And because we are essentially extensions of source energy, we want to extend those gifts just like that.
You mentioned extend those gifts. Are you talking consciousness? Are you talking connection?
Extend those gifts in terms of psychic abilities, whether it's clairvoyance or telepathy. And a lot of times these just happen spontaneously. There's been many situations where I wanted to know the answer to something, and just being in that space of surrender, it just comes through you and to you. And the knowing is pretty instant.
How do you know you're getting proper, healthy messages? How does one know that, because look, I've had the good, the bad, and the ugly in contact. Many people have had negative contact. It's not all peace, life, love, and light out there. Just like there's bad human beings, there's bad extraterrestrials. How do you know that you are getting positive contact over negative?
That's such a great question. The way you know is that when the message is received or the experience is taking place, is it uplifting? Is it high vibrating? Or is there some fear attached to it? Is it causing you to contract in energy? So it's being able to read your own energy, know what's neutral for you, and then what uplifts you, what lowers you. That's a great way to understand what's going on.
So, in other words, use the human body as a report card to contact.
You nailed it. That's exactly it. Without the body, we can't experience those emotions. So they bounce off between our subtle energy body and the physical body. So the emotions speak to you. They're actually indicators. So when you look at emotions that way, you're coming from a greater awareness and intelligence, because you're seeing them almost as a guidance and tool to bring awareness to you, whatever situation it is that you need it.
Oh, so many questions. We got 3.5 minutes before we have to go to break here at the bottom or the top of the hour. I always seem to get that confused. JIULIO Consiglio is here tonight talking UFOs and ET contact. If the government is confirming that UFOs are here, which us as experiencers tend to know they are, why do you think the UFO community then seems to do away with the experiential, anecdotal evidence so quickly and frequently?
I think people do that simply by human nature. A lot of times, if people have not had that experience directly, the they lean towards just immediately dismissing, something. I recently had someone. I reached out to someone. It was on Twitter, and I said, "Have a look at this." And it was actually the video of my pinned tweet of the 5 orbs, and it was immediately dismissed, not asking me any background to it. So you have to understand that's going to happen, and there's nothing wrong with it. It is what it is. We're in a world of relativity, so you're going to have people who are open and ready to, yeah, that it's not that even that they believe, they understand what's going on, and then others that no matter what you do, you could have an ET show up right at their doorstep, and they're still going to say, "I don't believe this," and that's fine too. It is what it is.
But don't you ever get tired of saying it is what it is when it comes to this, even though sometimes it's the best answer?
No, because the empowering thing to do is simply not resist or try to, like, it's not my job to convince anyone. This is what's been happening. Those are the, for example, like the recordings I've had, and you know, you're trying to convince someone, it never works anyways. And that's with anything, even in a relationship, trying to change someone's mind. You're just going to create actually greater resistance.
True, but not everybody's going to believe you either.
True. Exactly. And again, I go back to everyone's perception creates their own reality. So just because I haven't experienced something does not negate it for me, for someone who has. So that's their experience, and you got to honor that. And in just listening to someone, and this is with anything, someone sharing something with you, we have a choice. So you can just accept what is and what their experience is, or deny it. And you're good. This is a world of relativity, so I actually embrace the contrast, because if everyone just agreed on the same thing, life would be pretty dull.
Oh, very true.
So.
Very true. It's not dull with you on this show, though, Julia. I appreciate that as we head off to break here at the top of the hour. JIULIO Consiglio, good Ontario kid. And hopefully he doesn't cheer for the Maple Leafs.
No.
That's good.
Yeah.
You seem more like an Ottawa Senators kind of guy.
Yeah.
You really.
I'm not going to say. Never mind.
Les Habitants, be honest. You're a Buffalo Sabres fan, aren't you? Oh, my goodness. Yeah, hard to believe there's actually one in North America. Buffalo Sabres fan, JIULIO Consiglio on Spaced Out Radio. We'll take your questions in hour number 2 if you're in one of our chat rooms, and we'll continue to talk some UFOs the next hour. Hey, Kevin Adams is making some good moves.
Oh, yeah.
And had a great draft.
Oh, yeah.
Great draft.
Dude, I'm loving these conversations, eh?
Perfect. We're going to take a break here. I'm going to step away. Dirty Filth is going to unmute his microphone, and then he's going to get into the old cartoonies here. I'll be right back, JC.
Awesome.
Just gonna also try to avoid swearing this time as well. Yeah, between the swearing and the belching, it's just a complete mess. Oh, boy. Well, it's almost hockey season again, isn't it?
Oh yeah, that's pretty awesome. What are you working on there? What is that on the?
Okay, this is let's see, get it in view here. It's Sasquatch meets the skunk ape.
Love that. Love
he's like-
that.
Because the Sasquatch is always like, people, not always, but more often than not, they don't seem as angry as the skunk ape. So Sasquatch
Yes.
just got his Canada Dry ginger ale crypto brew there, and he's like, "Why are you so angry? Or why are you so grumpy?" And the skunk ape says, "I need a bath and I stink," because he's just wandering around the Florida swamps all the time. So
I saw a pretty
fairly-
good documentary. I can't remember the name, but there's a free app through Rogers called Tubi. They got the most incredible documentaries, and there was one on Sasquatch in particular, and how essentially it's a multi-dimensional being, and it's actually highly evolved, highly enlightened, highly telepathic, able to teleport, and that all of that resonated with me. That's why they'll essentially never catch one.
yeah, they have a lot of guys that come on the show to talk about Sasquatch. And I don't know, I've never experienced anything like it, but just all the stuff I heard, it seems like they have something special about them. There's definitely something special. Like, and from what I've read and what I've heard, I figure they're more than likely at least flesh and blood at the very minimum.
Yeah.
But they have some kind of special ability that allows them to either teleport or vanish, or even really camouflage or something. But I'd kind of go away from the camouflage thing, because I believe that if it was camouflage, you'd still be able to see it, because if anyone's ever been hunting, you can, like, you'll see there'll be a deer or something, you won't notice it, then it moves, you're like, there it is. So I can't quite say that maybe it's just camouflage, but there are those cuttlefish that can just instantly blend into the background. So maybe that's a thing. But they also have those, like, you only find one footprint, something to the effect of just a right footprint over and over, and then it vanishes in a field or something. And then you get like some of the David Paulides stuff, where it almost seems as if he says, it's not Sasquatch, but it might be, but I'm not saying it is or isn't. It's all wormhole stuff. So anyways, these guys are in a swamp here. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I read something quite a while ago, how the Sasquatch, from a consciousness point of view, essentially represents our wildness, essentially our freedom before we sort of, became hypnotized in this sort of 3D reality. So in one sense, they represent that. And you hear of native stories too, and you hear of similar sort of comparisons. So I've heard of quite a few sightings in Ontario. Haven't experienced this yet, but I'm totally open to it. All of this phenomenon, it not in any way, shape, or form scares me. Even the paranormal experiences I've had in the past, it's been more like, hey, where are you going? Why are you taking off from me?
Wait, I have so many questions to ask. I have one friend I live in Alberta, and she lived in Star, Alberta, and there's like nothing out there besides just fields. And her and her sister, I believe they were 11-ish, and they were at home one day, and they said it sounded like a truck had driven into the side of the house. It was just the house shuttered. Ooh. And they went out and looked, and walking down the driveway was a white Sasquatch, and up the driveway further there was another Sasquatch that was they figured it was probably a juvenile. And it was interesting because I've known this lady for a million years, and then she never talked about it. And then one day I was talking about Sasquatch and junk. She goes, "Is there a story I could tell you?" And she gave me that's the Reader's Digest version, but
You're looking dirty tonight with that Reader's Digest dirty.
oh yeah, the
That
Farmer's
doesn't
Almanac
surprise me.
version.
That doesn't surprise me. Hearing a story like that does not surprise me.
But it's just interesting to hear, because every once in a while you hear someone, "I seen an albino Sasquatch," and everyone goes, you're already crazy enough talking about Sasquatch. But anyways, rambling away here. See, Dave, it's the Sasquatch meets the skunk ape.
Oh, very nice.
And
Very
Sasquatch
nice.
is asking him, "Why are you so grumpy?" And the skunk ape is saying, "Well, I need a bath and I stink."
That's awesome.
All right, we got 20 seconds here before we're going to launch. And big thank you to both Simon and D. Moore for the super chats tonight. We very much appreciate the love and support of SOR. It's a great way to support what we do on a nightly basis. Our store is open if you want any SOR swag. And here we go, everyone, with hour number 2.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Want to say hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, at KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. FEEG. FEEG is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. We continue on tonight with JIULIO Consiglio, who is an author, experiencer, researcher of the UFO phenomena. He has been followed by triangles. He has summoned them on in. And we're going to continue this conversation right now. JIULIO, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Dave.
All right. This triangle that you are seeing at a nightly basis, a lot of people believe these triangles are of the American government called the TR-3B. Now, with the experiences you're having, I'm not saying that whoever is traveling can't have them as well. You know, it's like dinner plates, man. Everybody has dinner plates, forks and knives, and cutlery and drinking glasses in their house. They may all be different patterns, but we all have them. You know, it doesn't mean that the aliens don't have triangles, and we could have triangles as well. But how do you know that this isn't something that is human?
Oh, so all I can do is explain what we've seen. So that initial sighting started with that vibrational hit to look up. So unless these government officials or these agencies have developed something that can telepathically communicate with humans, then I would say, okay, that's possible. But that initial sighting in October 2020, fast forward now to May the following year. I'm back there with my neighbors, and it was about 8 p.m., so it wasn't quite dark yet. And I'm facing the parking lot, and about 250 feet coming towards me, and their backs were facing it, my two neighbors, the triangle came in. Only this time, when I saw it, it was more holographic than it was a 3D craft like the first night. So I screamed out, "Triangle, it's back." They turned around, and it was like a profound experience. So they were just sort of like unbelievable. We watched it cruise over the property, lean over the neighbor's property, and vanish in front of our eyes. So we stood there for a few minutes, awestruck. We sort of moved about, but then we ended up essentially back in our positions. And again, I was facing the parking lot. Now, this second time, so a few minutes later, it reappeared. Same trajectory, only this time, and I'll explain this. So take a triangle, slice it from top to bottom. So from the point to the bottom. Now slice it in half. This time, it reappeared and it was shape-shifting back and forth as 4 pieces. I said, it's back. Matt screamed at me, bullshit. I said, turn around. We all turned around, and this object, as it traveled, was moving back and forth in 4 pieces. And then as it reached over our neighbor's house, vanished before our eyes. Again, witnessed by 3 people.
The fact that you had eyewitness testimony to go along with yours, with your neighbors being there, do you think at some point, because I wondered this with my own self, that they being them, wanted you to have fellow witnesses to this, just so you knew it wasn't just about you, or you weren't going crazy or anything like that?
I think the reason that they were present, I think a big one is to make it easier to be able to speak about it, because it's from this point, like for the last several months, for example, it's now been taking place when I'm alone, or I've always had this sense that it's always around me. And early July, I was at my sister's house, and we're in the backyard. And I said, give it a few minutes. And within a few minutes, craft came in, left side, no blinking, just low, couple of 100 feet, silent, slow. She was seeing, my sister, she was seeing the spontaneous flashes. She was watching me say, do it again, and it would happen again. So I've come to realize there is a connection between this craft and myself, and I go into it more in the book, but there is definitely a connection. It hears me, and I am able to understand when it's in nearby. So there's definitely a connection there.
Have you been taken?
As far as I know, no.
Are you sure?
All I can say is as far as I know, I could mention this one incident that took place, but as far as I know, nothing happened. So I'm a very light sleeper. I've always been a light sleeper. And about 1.5 years ago, I sort of came to, and the foot of my bed was just, I have to use my hand to sort of demonstrate this, but it was doing this at several thousand revolutions, and I was sort of pinned down. But I could sense the bed was coming off the ground. And I have I'll put it lightly, I have an incredibly strong will. And I broke that sort of feeling of being held down quite quickly. And when I did that, the bed stopped and nothing happened further. But as far as being taken, I have no recollection of anything.
Have you ever been taken astrally? YJ would like to.
Astrally, I'm gonna say I've experienced astral projection in a sense. So and just operating through the quantum field, I'm able to sort of, wherever I sort of put my attention to, operating through stillness, you're able to access other dimensions or realities. And a lot of times when you're very open to it, like I essentially moment to moment meditate. But when I actually really put my awareness and really just intend on just anchoring incredibly and profoundly, things happen. You're able to see things or access things, and that potential's in all of us.
Yeah, I believe it is in all of us as well. But for your situation, do you think there's going to come a time when all of a sudden it's going to be like, uh-oh, they're here? And it's not just the craft.
To be honest, I look forward to it. And this is gonna, growing up, I've always sort of felt different in a sense, or that I sort of didn't fit in. And I've actually, in this last book, I commented, I actually feel in some ways more connected with this phenomena than I do with human beings.
A lot of people will say that,
Yeah.
who are multiple contactees.
Yeah.
Do you wear a Fitbit?
I don't. I actually don't.
I say start.
Really? Why? Tell me.
Fitbits and smartwatches, along with iPhones, are the next big study on whether or not people have been taken.
Oh, okay.
And many people who have Fitbits or smartwatches have checked times when they think they have been abducted,
Mm,
and they will notice on their Fitbit that their Fitbit is showing that they were awake when they really weren't.
really? I may have to invest in one.
Mm-hmm. I think you should. I think you should, because I think you've been taken. I'm just going to throw that out there right now. You got some aliens.
I would love if that has happened. I would love the recollection of it. Because again, even going back to like the paranormal experiences I've had, there isn't anything that really scares me, and it's never scared me. So I think, yeah, I mean, if it's happened, great. But yeah, I would love to have that recollection.
Trisha is asking, is telepathy a thing with you, as in they speak to you, or is it all in feelings?
It is really in feeling, knowing. It's very similar to channeling in a sense, like when I'm writing, and I was putting my attention on this collective, these group of interdimensional beings. The information just arrives instantly, and then there's sort of an instant knowing, and then I'm sort of just translating it. There's the only way I can describe it is as I'm writing or as it's happening, there's no thought going on in me. It's simply a download of information. It's a sort of a crystal clear knowing, and then I'm just translating whatever it is they want to impress to me. I'm then putting pen to paper, or on the laptop essentially. I can usually put out a book in about 6 to 8 weeks. I think I wrote this one in about 4 weeks. That's how quickly and how profound the downloads were. And your hand is just moving. You're basically, essentially, for a lot of it, just taking dictation.
Okay, so what do you want to experience then?
It's not that I want to experience, is that I know eventually direct contact is going to happen. It's going to happen globally. It's going to happen on a massive scale. As humanity awakens and shifts, it's just going to open that door. And, I've witnessed this craft come within 150 feet of me. I've seen the orbs, which is another energetic version of this craft. Again, this phenomena is consciousness based. Their technology is consciousness based. It's beyond what I could have thought was possible. I mean, I think from one sense, although I think it doesn't surprise me really, but I've seen orbs come as close as 30 to 40 feet, paralleling my townhouse. And I have a few videos of that. So, it's gotten, it went from, like I said, like sightings maybe once a month to once a week to now several, to almost virtually every night, and then being able to call them forth. So I think it's just inevitable, and I'm just open to it. But in terms of what do I want to have, I have absolutely no agenda. There's just this unfolding of consciousness, unfolding and just allowing and realizing whatever is going to happen is happening for my highest good, in one sense, in my own personal evolution.
Right. I mean, I can understand your strength going into it, your understanding, because you really haven't had a conscious outbreak yet. Do you worry for your neighbors, your family, whom you talk to about this, just in case, there's any residual rub off of what's happening to you?
Actually, the one good thing, especially with my two neighbors, they've known me for about 2 years, 2.5 years, and they've read my books. So they've got a pretty good solid foundation. And, they look forward when this stuff happens. They come out, I'm going to say, 8 times out of 10 that I'm out there. Or if I say, hey guys, there's stuff going on, they're running out there. Uh, you know, I think with them, there may be a little bit of trepidation, but really no, they're pretty anchored spiritually. They would tell you that too. So no, it's been a very, like I said, a very uplifting. These ETs, they're so highly intelligent, these beings, that they know how much or what you're ready to sort of experience. And I've seen in my own case just how it's evolved in terms of contact, experience, and my understandings. It's never been something that's been too much for me. It for example, it took me a year to realize what was the source of these spontaneous flashes of light. And once I understood what it was, like it made perfect sense. So it's been very, in one sense, gradual and cautious on their part, but in another hand, uh, they realize like he is open and he is, there's no fear in him. So it's evolved rather quickly.
Giulio Consiglio is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Giulio, with what you're experiencing and what you've heard other people experience that you have talked to, we all think of experiencers as those of us who are a little bit weird. We're a little bit gun shy. We become a little bit more introverted than extroverted because, there's a lot to take in, and it really is all encompassing to us who have these experiences. For you, how do you balance being an experiencer from your life? I mean, because we all do have a life to live outside of the phenomena.
You've got the greatest questions, and I would say, there's a set time. For example, let's say, 10 p.m., 11 p.m., midnight, I'm going to be out there. So in those moments, that's my focus. But throughout the day, my attention is not on them. I'm living moment by moment. I'm living my life. There's that human aspect of me, being a self-actualized, you realize you're a spiritual being, but we're in this reality, we're in this realm, we're playing the part of human. So you have to balance that. So I've heard of people, letting it consume them. And if you're already balanced, so if you're already operating through a very balanced life, you're not going to allow something to sort of become an obsession. The experiences are what they are. When I go out there 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock, I let what happens unfold. And it's important to approach it with non-attachment, because that's how they approach it. They are masters. They are highly intelligent, and they will reflect back to you what you are. So if you come in and you're like, I want to see you, and you get upset, you're pretty much not going to see anything. So you want to approach it with a non-attachment. It's wonderful, it's uplifting, but you can't let it sort of take over you. You have to be balanced.
So it's, in your point, it's all about consciousness.
Exactly. And the experience, what I've realized is all of this is consciousness. All of this is, the quantum field expressing itself. So they are simply either an extension of me, an extension of the higher mind, or a future version of me coming back to assist. Regardless, or if it's all of it, there's perfection in it, and there's an unfolding to it, and there's a greater purpose to all of it. So I'm just allowing it to unfold.
What is that greater purpose, do you think?
As ultimately to help the collective of humanity ascend. They're going to offer technology. You're going to see a lot of things we're seeing a lot of things now, systems crumble. So the timing of all of this, the synchronicity of it, from my point of view, has been excruciatingly obvious. So they have much to offer, and even just in my experiences of them. And for example, I'm going to say 9 times out of 10, when I ask, can you do that again? I'll get that response, whether it's a flash. And when it doesn't happen, there's no reaction in me, because I'm operating in that quantum field, in that stillness, and that meeting point. So again, it's how you approach the whole phenomena will sort of dictate what you're going to experience.
Okay. Let's go to Tony's question, coming from the United Kingdom. Is it possible that these craft and or beings are mind duping and infiltrating humanity?
I'm going to have to say no. And the only reason I'm saying that is, before any of this happened, I was already anchored in stillness, anchored in that no mind state. So the only difference between the way I was operating 2 years ago and like before this happened is my awareness has only expanded. It's in no way, shape, or form altered my way of being, changed the way I operate. I operate the same way I do now as I did in 2005 when I awoke, 2006, 2007. So the experiences, like I said, have been profound, uplifting. There's been nothing negative about it.
You're even though nothing negative has happened to you, you are cognizant of the idea that certain people have had negative experiences.
I am aware of that, and again, it's a personal experience from one point of view, and it's sort of like going in a circle with me. I see the perfection in it, just like I see the perfection in all the adversities. Oh, sorry, all the adversities I faced that led me to my shift in consciousness. So, from one point of view, from a 3D human point of view, yes, these things are horrible, or they can be viewed as very bad. From a grander perspective, when you take a step back and sort of detach from the past of it, you can see with greater clarity.
So why do you think they just don't knock at our doors? Why is it all suspicious? Sneaking into our bedrooms at night, or, as an example, and taking us either physically or spiritually.
They're not coming knocking on our doors because humanity is just not quite there, but we're getting there. So you sort of have to, and what they say is, you have to meet us halfway. For example, if they're spinning at 100,000 RPM and we're still spinning at 100, it's not going to mesh. So humanity's got to, on an individual level and then collective level, raise in consciousness, become more aware, lay aside the fear, lay aside any sort of, especially if you haven't had any experience with it whatsoever, lay aside any limiting belief about it and allow the spontaneity of life to unfold, because you'd be amazed at what happens, not just in this perspective, in this phenomena, but any aspect of your life when you allow things to just sort of manifest spontaneously. It's like the soul within you allowing to sort of produce and create miracles to you and through you. And that's been my experience even with this phenomena.
Well, we're going to talk about the phenomena for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio when we return from our break at the bottom of the hour. Look at that. I got it right. Bottom of the hour here on the Mighty SOR. JIULIO Consiglio. He's an author. You can find his books on Amazon. He is a researcher. He is an experiencer. And he's wanting to share it all with the public, which is you. More UFO talk when we return on Spaced Out Radio. Then in hour number 3, we're going to head to the swamp. Grant Baker's going to bring us the UFO report. Shirky Poo has the news. A jam-packed second half of Spaced Out Radio when we return. Fun night tonight.
Dude, I swear to God, you're reading my mind. Some of these questions, I think I almost had them almost in the back of my head, and you're like bringing them to the surface.
Sweet.
It's freaking awesome.
Good connection.
Mm-hmm. Some great questions there too.
Solid Wi-Fi tonight. Solid Wi-Fi.
Thank goodness.
Yeah. Hi, Stunning Pam Smith. Jody, I will get to your question. Alien Protocols, how you doing? Good to see you again. And let's see here.
I forgot that I could look at the comments, Dave. I'm gonna.
Yeah, you go for that, man.
Jeez, look how many comments! Holy smokes!
Oh yeah.
Where have I been?
Oh, you've been having a pretty good conversation with me, man.
I know.
Dirty Filth, how you doing down there? Hey, G West is back. Good to see you, buddy. What's Dirty Filth drawing? Let's take a look here.
That's pretty cool. Hey, they're understanding, Dave, how fear can just close you off. Look at these comments. They're amazing.
Oh, yeah.
That's awesome. Yes, we have to meet them halfway.
Is that candles or no? Those are reeds. Those are reeds in a pond. Filth is the type of guy who thinks Pilsner beer is good beer.
That's a nice comment. I like this guy. He experienced real encounters. It shows.
Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got aliens. Hey, good morning, Jonathan Davies. How you doing, buddy? I wouldn't do that to Filth. I'd never give him a Labatt's blue light. It's only the best Pilsner for him. He's not even acknowledging us. He is focused.
He's a pretty darn good artist.
Oh, he's incredible. He's incredible. He says it's because of his power chest hair.
It's the power of the hair.
Yeah.
I dig that.
Yeah, he's pretty damn talented. I mean, you just look at them hairy arms. It's like he's drawing himself.
I could see this being a weekly comic strip. I could see this being syndicated. Dave, I think you should set something up for him. Take a cut.
I'm trying.
Dave should get 30% minimum.
Nah. Dirty Filth does it all, man. He makes us look good.
That's pretty
Johnny Yuma, welcome to SOR chat. Where was that question here? There was a question that I was going to ask. Where is it now? There it is from Jody. All right. We got a couple seconds here.
That's a good question.
All right. Let's see here. There.
That's a pretty mean looking skunk ape.
Oh, yeah. It's the way the dirty does it.
He's got the attitude because he knows he's a skunk ape.
You got that right. All right, we got 15 seconds. Thank you to Simon and D. Moore for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. And yeah, here we go, everyone. Let's get those thumbs up, too. We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. We very much appreciate it. I want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Author, researcher, intuitive. What else can we throw in there? Experiencer. JIULIO Consiglio is here for the final time tonight. We're talking about experiences and everything that he's gone through and what he's learned from talking to other people about UFOs, ET contact, and everything in between. JIULIO, we're going to start off with a question from Jody here, who is asking, from what I understand, aliens will not allow a nuclear war on Earth. Is that your belief also?
From a spiritual point of view, my perspective is we are on a higher timeline to begin with. So even if that were a possibility, they would intervene at that point and not allow the total annihilation or destruction of humanity. But from my understanding, and it's a deep knowing, is that we are on a high timeline. See, even right now with everything that's going on in the collective, so there's a lot of fear, uncertainty about the future on various fronts. If you take a step back and you approach it from a spiritual point of view, from a grander perspective, there's a purpose in all of this. Nothing is random, and there's a divine plan behind it all. So yeah, they would intervene. That is a deep knowing that I get.
All right, let's follow up a question from Jody again. Are you satisfied seeing the orbs and summoning the aliens, or are you hoping for more?
I'm not hoping for really anything. I'm just allowing what is unfolding to unfold. So if I'm back there and I sense their presence, I will begin interaction, or what they call, contact. Or a lot of times I just step out the porch and there will be a craft to the left of me. But in terms of hoping for more, I'm just allowing things to unfold in what I describe as sort of like divine timing.
Moving forward here, let's go to Alien Protocols. He says, I'm a huge proponent of nothingness meditations since it reduces the noise. Do you think it's more subconscious than consciousness connected to psi?
I would say it's almost a combination. So when you operate through no mind, through stillness, that dimension that's within all of us, you're bringing the vastness of consciousness to the forefront of your local consciousness. So the inner knowings that the subconscious or the deeper part of you knows is instantly translated to the local consciousness, which is here and now. If I relate it even to wisdom is a one-way street from the highest self to the local mind. So it's the same sort of thing in one sense.
Okay. Meditation does help with contact. We know that. We also know that meditation can also help with the kind of contact you're going to have whether it's positive or negative. So if you're putting out positive energy, positive thoughts, that it's going to help. To people who say, look, I don't care what kind of contact I get, I just need something. I need some sort of confirmation. Do you believe there's danger to that? Or do you believe that it's because you've had positive experience that the chances of something negative are on a lower percentage?
If I had to give someone advice, and even if I were to relate it to paranormal experiences, is don't come from a space where I don't care if it's positive or negative. I want to have that experience, because if you're doing that, if I'm going to be really sort of upfront and honest about it, that's the ego stepping in. And a lot of times when we operate through that, we end up experiencing things that really don't really help us evolve or anything like that. Even the paranormal experiences that took place after my shift, from one point of view, they could be deemed as scary or terrifying. What they did, though, is gave me greater insight. And when I wrote, for example, Open Your Third Eye, I was able to offer insights on, if these things were to happen to you, how to have them not make attachments to you, how to be centered in the moment, how to be fearless and not allow these things to make attachments. So my piece of advice would just be, if you work on yourself, evolve, and be open to the experience, you'd be surprised what you allow for your own personal evolution. Especially, I think that's what's most important than trying to just have an experience. It's because we're on a timeline, regardless of a collective shift in humanity, in consciousness.
Let's go to Eugene. Is your communication with these entities one way or back and forth?
It is back and forth. When I wrote this last book, Cosmic Contact, it was back and forth. So I was actually asking questions to these beings, these interdimensional beings, and getting the responses back. So it's been a two-way, whether it's been through channeled writing or me going outside and experiencing this phenomena and having the interactions happen back and forth. So it's been a two-way street.
Very cool. Okay, let's go to another question from Eugene here. What would you say then, Julio, is the difference between spirit and one's and one's soul, if you believe there's a difference?
From one point of view, it is one. But if you look at your soul as your higher self, so higher relative to your local consciousness, you have the soul. But the soul is connected to the all that is, whether we want to call it God or source. So yes, so from one point of view, there are multiple layers of us, because we have, for example, the spirit, or if you want to call it soul. Then you have the subtle body, which connects the unmanifested and the manifested physical body. So we're sort of getting into, tomato in one sense, but I relate it as a soul, but that soul is connected. There is no ending or beginning with the all that is or source. So it's all one spirit experiencing itself experientially.
Okay. So if we're experiencing everything and all at once, what does time really mean?
Time, with this collective shift in humanity, is collapsing, because the truth of the matter is time doesn't exist, especially if I look at it from the quantum field. Think, and all I can do is have people reflect on this. Think about the past and the future. The past never arrived. It was always experienced in the now as a mind construct. So we're never in the past, only by thought. The future never arrives. It is only experienced as a projection. So when you realize, because this is how most people are stuck, and I'm glad this question was asked. Most people are stuck between past and future. If you want to begin to ascend and evolve, you want to become intimately aware of the present moment, the eternal moment of now, because all those timelines, past and future, are literally potentials and possibilities. But when you're operating through past and future and completely identifying with it, that's when we experience suffering. That's when we experience difficulty. The way to sort of transcend that and begin to evolve is to, number one, become very aware that the present moment is all there ever is. When you realize that, you then realize the miracle that's life, because all of this is unfolding through this one instant, the now.
Okay, wonderful answer. By the way, let's get to G West. What needs to happen for the entire world to know aliens are here? And if you were to guess, what year would this happen?
I would say what needs to happen is humanity has to evolve. So we need to come shift more in alignment with who we truly are, lay aside the fear, lay aside the anger, the thoughts of violence. So as humanity shifts closer to who they truly are authentically, that's when the world will know that they're here, because that's what they're waiting for. They're waiting for humanity to meet them at that halfway mark, because there is a unifying factor that unifies us with them, that transcends what they would look like and what we look like. There's that unifying factor, and it's spirituality. It's a universal consciousness. It's stillness. So for that to happen, and in terms of what year would this happen, some people have said, by 2025. I don't even like to put a date on it, because it could happen tomorrow. That's how spontaneous the soul is, or the oversoul, or source. So, it's essentially they're waiting for humanity to grow up a little bit more, and as humanity is ready for that, because they would just be another distraction if they came in now, and with most humans just not ready to experience it. It would just be another distraction. So, but it is happening, because the acceleration of consciousness, especially what I've witnessed in the past 2 years, it's accelerating.
Who do you think is sending them?
These extraterrestrials?
Yeah.
They are, from my understanding, they are connected to source. They're divinely guided. So I see it as these are extensions of source. It's just that I relate this in the book. We look at sharks, right? But we don't look at sharks as alien, but they have a very alien existence relative to us. They live underwater, they breathe underwater, but because we've seen them our entire lives, we don't think twice about them. But when it comes to extraterrestrials, there's this whole, well, what are they, and are they dangerous? And I don't know anything about them. Start meditating, come into yourself, get to know yourself, and that's where you'll meet them. Because when you find that inner stillness within you, you'll realize that wholeness or inner stillness in everything and everyone. So that would be my suggestion.
JIULIO Consiglio is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. And, going into the connection that we have with our spiritual selves, does our spiritual selves, in your opinion, come into play with the phenomena of extra or ultra-terrestrials?
Absolutely, because they're operating through that high frequency. They are self-actualized. If they are, in fact, what I essentially know is that they are future versions of us coming back to help us ascend, they are highly, highly evolved. The only difference is how much more they are aware of their abilities, for example, to teleport, or their ability to, bilocate, to be in 3 places at once. So, but we have that unifying factor. So really the only difference is how much more do they know versus us.
What do you think they know? I mean, obviously there's advancement. If they have the technology to get here, there's obvious advancement. But what do you think they know?
Well, they have a very profound insight into the quantum field. They're able to look into timelines. They're able to, like I said, bilocate, be in multiple areas. In terms of telepathy or mind reading, in the quantum field, there are no secrets. So they are able to tap into our consciousness. This is why they're very interested in us. They are essentially star family. So they're a future version of us. So they are very interested in our experiences, but they are able to, through that oneness, able to connect just through intention and essentially, read minds, teleport. Their potential, to be honest, is essentially limitless. And it's limitless because they are harmless. When I say that, I'm saying these ones that are incredibly positive, these ones that are highly evolved, they are harmless. So because of that, you don't reach that state, IQ of 300 or 400, without being, surrendered to be one with source.
So why come here? Why come here? Why investigate? Why do you think they're treating us like we treat ants or rabbits?
They are silent observers for now because there's that connection with us. So they are, revealing themselves to those who are ready to interact and to experience them. But they remember that we have free will, so they really don't want to mess with that. So for the time being, they're observing, they are guiding, assisting those who are open to it. But there will come a time where humanity will have made that collective shift. They say between 1% and 5% of critical mass is all that's needed for spontaneous awakening. The powerful few that are awakened to sort of tune, like a tuning fork, to have an impact on the collective. So that's what they're waiting for.
Tuning impact. Not quite sure what that is, but I would love to know.
So sort of like a tuning fork. So if you have one tuning fork and you sort of set it off, it would have sort of a ripple effect. Or if you take a stone, and the stone is one individual consciousness, and you drop it in the ocean, it creates a ripple. If you look at that ocean as the collective of humanity, see, we've forgotten how powerful we are. Once you step out of the thinking mind and into stillness and that vastness that's within us already, that consciousness, you realize there is really nothing small about us. It's only that belief that we're just human beings, and really, we have no power to impact our world. When the truth is, when you discover that stillness within you, it's you who is impacting your environment, not the other way around.
What if people don't want it?
That's a choice. Absolutely. So that is a choice. So there are those that you can't force it. You can't that's why we have free will. So those who, like me personally, by the time I was in my early 30s, I had my fill of suffering and not understanding and confusion, and I had what I describe as a white hot burning desire to understand, and I was afforded that understanding. So, and I'm very grateful for it. But you have to desire it. So it's that desire, that intention, that sets the stage for it, and it's a choice.
That's saying a lot from a guy who hasn't had ET contact yet, man.
Yeah, it's
let me explain my answer here for a second.
No.
Okay, because as a contactee, I would go back to my happily boring life in an instant. Really? I can't, because I can't reverse time. I mean, the UFOs are cool, but once you get into them damn aliens, that's a whole different ball game. It's like playing double headers every night.
There is quite a few civilizations out there. There are quite a few.
Okay. So moving forward here, so we got about 4.5 minutes. Oh man, this could be a great debate. Could be a great debate, a friendly debate.
Yeah.
But are you not concerned that our consciousness, if we sign a little notepad before we come down here, a contract that says A, B, C, D, and by the way, on E, you're going to get, some aliens. And by the way, they're going to do anything to you. You wouldn't want to write that off? You wouldn't want to say, no, I'll skip number E if you don't mind.
Do you know how incredible it is? Look at what people experience in this reality, whether, I've had tremendous challenges that led me to my shift, and I had to have signed up for it. And we forget who we are when we're, let's say, over there, our spiritual selves. We forget how powerful we are. We forget that Earth, from one point of view, is ultimately really a playground. We've become so serious about everything and have darkened life through the past. So sort of painting it from a perspective. So we, a lot of people would not want to hear this, that we sign up for the challenges. They may not be specific, but we sign up for challenges for our own growth. We're all here for a soul purpose. And that soul purpose, which a lot of us forget, is to self-actualize, for your awareness to become aware of its own awareness. That's what we're ultimately here for. Everything else, so that's beingness. Doingness ultimately is secondary. But most of us get caught up in the doingness, and we forget why we really showed up. And there's nothing wrong with it. I'm just reminding us that there is so much more to us, and we ultimately, from a grander perspective, there is a soul purpose at play. And we can, even though we have strayed from it, at any moment, if you choose, you can realign with that soul purpose.
Tell everybody, with 2 minutes to go here, where they can find your books and more information on yourself.
Sure. So my books are available in Amazon, through Amazon. They're also, some of them are available through bookstores. My handles are JIULIO CONSIGLIO, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, or Facebook. And I'm going to say, I probably have about 80 recordings on my phone from all these sightings. And I'm going to say about 80 to 90% are there readily available for people to take a look at. And through my website, JIULIOConsiglio.com, those who are interested in teachings in 5D or inner stillness or mastery, I am available for one-on-ones and even some group ones, but that's locally right now in Ontario.
Well, it's always fun to have you on Spaced Out Radio, Julio, because you're very open-minded and you're very passionate about this subject, and I think we need more of that. Not just around our community of ufology, but around the world as eyes start to open up. What's your piece of advice? 30 seconds or less. What's your piece of advice for people who want to open up?
I would say if you want to open up, begin the practice of meditation. There's no effort required. So open up to, being aware of the moment, because it's in the moment where clarity is heightened, psychic abilities are heightened, your discernment is heightened. And when you're clear, when you're present, so you're not distracted by the outer world or by the past or future, and in the moment, you open up to energy information. You open up to psychic hits, vibrational hits. So if you're ready, become profoundly aware of the present moment. That's a good place to start.
Wonderful. Julio, what a great show tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Thank you so much for making this a great broadcast for our audience. We really appreciate it. Coming up next, we're going to head to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller has a spooky story for us. Then Grant Baker and his new power stash are going to join us for the UFO report. A busy hour 3 ahead on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. Hi, Wizard Grin. How you doing? Welcome back. Julio, great show, man.
I loved it. What can I
Great
tell
show.
you? It's always awesome.
We're going to do it again soon, man.
Are you
I love
kidding?
that.
Whenever you want.
I
Whenever you
appreciate
want.
it.
I appreciate it too.
All right, buddy. I'll let you get to bed because I know it's like 2 in the morning for you.
Is it? No. Thanks, Dave.
All right, buddy.
Take it easy,
Take care.
friend. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Julio Consiglio, everybody. Yeah, just absolutely awesome. We're going to turn things over to Dirty Filth. He's going to take us, look at that beauty. Look at that beauty right there. And who's this? Oh, look, it's little Granty Baker. Look at that little mustache growing there. Oh, yeah. We'll be back. I'll let you guys warm up to the Dirt Man right here. Be right back.
Hi, Kira. Hi, YJ Overlander. How you guys doing? Tony D, what's up? Love to you as well, Kira. Absolutely. Nicholas Shaughnessy, Big Tanks. How you doing, my man? I'm sneaking onto the show while Dave's not looking, man. Is Dave here? Nah, man. Dave's not here. Super Duke. Good seeing you, my brother. Good seeing you, Ann Palmer. Hello. Dave's not home, man. Oh, man, where's Dave? Oh, man, Dave's not here. Dave's not here, man. I love that one. Okay, you're awesome. Just real quick, though, he's coming back. So everybody act sober.
All right. That's enough dirty filth there. We'll patch that over here. Say goodnight to filth. We got about a minute here. Yeah, Filth has to start marking his territory in the chat room and letting you guys know where that you can find his book. Hi, Grantster.
How you doing, my man?
Your hat looks sexy.
You know, I found this thing and it fit pretty good, so I wore it tonight. My son's got one too.
Nice. Tomorrow I'm going to be calling Printify to figure out what's going on.
Okay.
So I'll figure that stuff out. Thank you to G. West, Simon, and D. Moore for the amazing super chats. Here we go, everyone.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. Thank you so much for joining us. I very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight to the SOR Space Travelers Club. FEEG. FEEG is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. It's time, once again, for all of us to head over to the swamp. Our resident swamp dweller takes us on another swampy story.
Hi, Spaced Out Radio listeners. This is Swamp Dweller. It's time for your nightly dose of spookiness on the show. If you have an interesting encounter or a spooky story that you would like to share, be sure to submit them in at swampdweller.net. You can also find our YouTube channel at youtube.com/swampdwellerreads. Now, let's chill out, relax, and together, let's enter the swamp. For the longest time now, my one true passion in life has been fishing. I have a high-pressure job as a stock trader in my hometown of Philadelphia, and nothing seems to help me unwind from a stressful week quite like a day's worth of fishing on the river. I think it's the combination of the serene setting, the slow, steady pace of it, and the fact that I'm reconnecting with nature. When most of my life is spent in a stuffy office space, staring at a computer screen. But there's always been one dream fishing trip that I've always wanted to go on, but never really had the time to arrange, and that's bow fishing down in Louisiana. Ever since I saw a segment on it on the World Fishing Network, I just was dying to try it. I had always wanted to try out archery too, so combining that with my passion for fishing just seemed like the obvious choice. I had mentioned it once or twice to the wife, and being the great listener that she is, she ended up arranging a trip down to the bayou for myself and a few of my buddies for my 37th birthday. We flew down to New Orleans on the Friday morning, which I had no idea was named after Louis Armstrong. Then spent the day hanging around Bourbon Street drinking cocktails and soaking up the jazz. Then, after fighting off the hangovers the next day, we drove down along the Mississippi River to this little place called Buras, where we found ourselves at NOLA Bow Fishing Charters. The guys down there were awesome, sharing all their little tricks and techniques with us to ensure we would have a lucrative trip. Then, once the sun had set, we loaded up into the boat and set off into the swamps. It really was like a dream come true for me. The landscape down there really is something to behold. But here's the thing. The shallow bottom boat we were in had these floodlights on it just below the waterline. Most fishermen will tell you that this is basically cheating, since the fish tend to be attracted to lights, especially in the nighttime. But since we were using bows and arrows, I guess it kind of evened out the odds a bit. However, having lights on your boat like that totally ruins your night vision, so as much as you can see the waters around you perfectly clear, it blinds you to the darkened areas beyond, and that makes you feel goddamn vulnerable indeed. There could have been anything out there in the darkness, just watching us, and we'd have absolutely no idea it was there. So, we're having a ball for the first hour or so, mostly just making fun of each other for missing our shot so much. But eventually we all start getting the hang of the whole accuracy thing. We're pulling in all kinds of black drums, redfish, and flounder, which are delicious. But I couldn't see any of the one fish I wanted to shoot, and that was an alligator gar. I had had my heart set on getting my hands on a big 10-footer to show the guys back at the office, and I was worried the entire trip might pass up before I get the chance to shoot one. But eventually, one of my buddies is looking over the side of the boat, into the brightly lit, murky waters, when he calls out to me that he sees this big old gar hiding among some reeds just a few feet away. He knew I was after one, as was everyone, so everyone got out of the birthday boy's way, so I could get a clear shot on it. So there I was, right up on the edge of the boat with my bow and arrow in hand, trying to steady myself to get a good aim on this gar. Jesus Christ, was this thing huge! I mean, it was easily a 10-footer. The exact kind of monster that I had been dreaming of getting my hands on, and I really had to regulate my breathing to keep my hands from shaking too much. Only just as I start to get ready to aim on the thing and I'm about to fire the arrow into the water, it starts to slowly creep away further from the boat, almost like the goddamn thing knew I had my eyes on it. But I wasn't about to let it get away. And as dumb as this was, I start leaning over the edge of the boat so not to lose it. That's when I lose my balance. I start wobbling, tipping over the side of the boat before my buddies could reach out to grab me and reel me in. Bow in hand, I crash into the murky waters head first, getting absolutely soaked in the process. I can hear the guys in the boat laughing their asses off before I even resurface, and when I finally do, I got to admit I was laughing too. But as I look up from the water, they don't seem so cheerful anymore. They're all just looking behind me, staring at something with these looks of terror on their faces. I'm all like, what's the problem? Before I look behind me, seeing this pair of glassy eyes glowing in the lights of the boat, just before they disappear under the water. It was an alligator, and it was huge. I start scrambling to get back on the boat, trying and failing to scale the side of it before the thing got to me. All my buddies rushed to my side and grabbed me, but the bow fishing instructor rushes to the opposite side, grabbing one of the two of my friends and imploring them to do the same. He suggested this so the whole thing wouldn't flip over and we all end up in the water with this thing. Just as they got a grip on me and started dragging me up forwards, I feel this intense pressure on my right boot. It was horrible. I just started screaming, "It's got me! It's got me!" over and over, feeling my leg beginning to stretch from the guys dragging me up, and the gator trying to drag me down. Then suddenly I'm free and the guys pull me back up onto the boat. But that didn't bring any relief, as in that moment, all I could think about was now that the gator had bitten my goddamn foot off. There was no pain, but I've heard that in those adrenaline-fueled moments, you don't normally feel massive injuries. I'm scrambling around in the boat, trying to look at my leg, half expecting to see a missing foot and blood pouring out in the bottom of the boat. But to my infinite relief, all I see is a soaking wet sock covering my still attached foot. The relief, the pure goddamn relief I felt in that moment. I can hardly put it into words. And it didn't take me all that long to figure out that a hangover had basically saved my life. Since I was feeling so rough that morning, I had not bothered to tie my boots up that tight, giving them enough slack to allow the alligator to pull it right off my foot. It was without a doubt the single most terrifying moment of my entire life. Seeing that thing's eyes practically glowing in the floodlights of the boat put that absolute fear of God into me. And I know how lucky I am that I was able to walk away from the situation with all my limbs still attached. I could just as easily have bled out right there lying on that boat, thousands of miles away from where my wife and kids were, while my buddies looked on helplessly. We took a fair amount out of the swamps that night, and I suppose it was only right that the swamps took something back. I didn't manage to catch the gar I had been lusting after in the end, but that was okay by me, I guess.
Yeah, no kidding. Alcohol and fishing, it's a fun time, but you got to be careful. You gotta be careful. That one just scares me because that's real. That is real that we know of right there. We say thank you for the Swamp Dweller for keeping us on the edge tonight. Swamp Dweller Reads on YouTube. Go to youtube.com/Swamp Dweller Reads. It is always a good time with the Swamp Dweller. Go hit subscribe on his channel.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
It's a UFO report on Spaced Out Radio, and Tim Senor is absent tonight as he is traveling back from Blind Frog Ranch in Utah back to his home in Oregon, which means another Oregonian, the Grantavious one, Grant Baker, is here for the UFO report. How you doing there, Grant?
I'm doing pretty good. How you doing?
I'm having a good day. Having a good day.
You know, it's kind of funny that you have an Oregonian as your news reporter, and then when he's gone, you ask another Oregonian who's in the PNW to be your other backup news reporter. Oregon's got it coming, man.
Hey, man, I got to stay within the Pacific Northwest here.
Yeah,
that's just the way it is. I got to keep the West Coast going here. It just works better that way.
Yeah.
Even though at my old home, you were only a 6-hour drive away. Now you're like a 12-hour drive away.
Oh, yeah. Well, it's okay. We have planes. You can come down here. I'll pick you up from the airport.
I appreciate that. I very much appreciate that. Well, there's some news going on in the UFO world right now, and a couple big stories. The biggest story of all was Dr. Gary Nolan of Stanford University going on Tucker Carlson and talking about what a lot of people are fearful to talk about, man, and that is what happens to the human body, especially the human brain, when it comes in contact with UFOs and or extraterrestrials. I mean, kudos to Tucker Carlson. I'll be honest with you. I'm not a fan of his, Grant. I'm not a fan. He has one of those faces that you just want to stand at center ice and just punch him. Okay? He does. Thank God he lost the bow tie thing, because it was a disgrace to bow ties. But,
so funny.
But honestly, he has one of those faces you just want to hit, whether it's his political commentary or his sarcasm or whatever. You just want to, I don't know, get violent with him. But I will say this about him, and I say that in jest, by the way, for our audience who may be out there say, "What? Why do you want to hit him? That's terrible." No, we're having fun. When I say that, we're having fun. All right. But the idea behind it is that I do like about him and I respect about him is he's the only television news personality who's really jumped in full force on the UFO world. He is fascinated by this. He wants more coverage of this. He's pushing for it. And whether we agree or disagree with the line of questioning he has used, bringing on Dr. Gary Nolan is a huge, huge move for the UFO community, Grant.
It is. It's a huge move, and if for anybody that wants to watch that video, when it comes to that interview, it's really, really interesting. And you have Gary Nolan, who basically got thrown into this on accident just because of what he is studying. And then you have a news guy that's literally questioning him, who, by the way, lived in the same area as Gary Nolan. So they know the towns that they're talking about. They even know the papers that they're talking about, because Gary Nolan used to deliver newspapers when he was a kid. And in fact, Gary Nolan had a little bit of a sighting that he admitted having when he was 12. And it was years later when he saw, Close Encounters of the Third Kind and stuff like that, that he realized, is that what I was seeing? But then you're also talking about someone he's a doctor at Stanford University and also works with Harvard on certain things. And so these are not, when it comes to Gary, he's a very smart individual. And he's very careful what he says. But at the same time, if you guys just want to hear one of the most crazy interviews, it is a good one. Whether you want to punch the anchor in the throat or not, but I mean, teasing. It is really a good interview. And what really I'm taking away from this is it's not fringe anymore. This is something that's in the limelight. When you have things like the DOD and the government getting involved and people of his, credentials and standing, this guy worked hard to get where he's at, and he's talking about it too. So this is a really good step in the right direction.
The one thing that the U.S. government through the first few years of all this, Grant, have been very cognizant of is not talking about experiencers, not talking about the after effects. And we're not just talking military here. We're talking regular people as well that are being studied at.
Uh-oh. We lost you for a second. And you're right, though. Realistically, it's not just the DOD or the pilots or anything. It's normal people that have been studying on it. And what's really interesting is when you get to the brain thing. So, I mean, there's a common denominator. There's something that happened, and I'm trying to think of the exact name of what it was. The Havana syndrome, is that what it is? So
yes.
Once in the government, they started realizing there's the Havana syndrome in some of the upper echelons of the Senate and House and all that jazz. And so that there was kind of like a bucket of people where weird things would happen. So they just kind of threw it in that bucket. Well, when that happened, that all got taken away. And then what was left was what was really interesting. And those are the people after the Havana syndrome. I mean, those were the people that Nolan was interested in, because the rest of those people all had one common denominator. They all said that the things that happened to them was because they had interactions with UAPs. And that's when it kind of like, oh, hey, look at this. But I mean, realistically, though, there was pilots, because if you guys want to hear the real story of even how he got into this, it was mainly military, DOD, and pilots that he was kind of getting all this information from. But it's not just pilots, it's the rest of us as experiencers as well that have been telling him about this. And he's gotten into studying that and the brain functions that's going on and what's happening to these people and why they're experiencing this kind of stuff. And it's actually quite amazing. They've got science of the type of brains, and now everybody's brain's different, just like a fingerprint, but the type of brains and how they work are what are triggering these people in that sense of what they're seeing, and the people that can see this stuff or having more experiences.
Well, once again, this has been such a taboo subject in the mainstream. The fact that they're saying, screw it, let's go with this. Let's run with this. And this brings out an entire different set of journalism when we're talking about the experiencers. It's one thing to talk about, brilliant men and women flying multi-million-dollar FA-18 Super Hornets off a billion-dollar aircraft carrier going to intercept these little Tic Tacs. It's another thing when you were talking that we have had people close to these UFOs, both military and civilian, and here we are studying the effects of the radiation and other plausibilities of chemical reaction that comes off these craft. I mean, some of the X-rays that they were showing of the brain, or MRI photos of the brain that they were showing on how it's been a little bit disfigured is pretty phenomenal, Grant.
It is. It's changing them physically. It's to the point where that you can see a difference in the brain. There's like a different type of scar tissue almost of what's going on in there. And it's kind of like anybody can experience something. If you walk behind, a 747 taking off and it's got its jets on full blast, something's going to happen to you. And that's what's happening to these people. And it is kind of a radiation of some sorts. But what they're looking at is how it's affecting the brain. They're seeing that there's different areas that are being affected by it negatively and some kind of positively, but mostly negatively. And people are getting hurt by this. This is a real phenomenon. It's not a phenomenon anymore. I'm sorry I said that. It is a real tried and true. This is what's going on. And they're trying to figure it out. But it's a common denominator amongst most people that have experienced it. And there's he was talking about one guy that he was in the military, walked right up to the craft to touch it. And then there's other people that have just been around it, like it'll zip past them and these things are happening to them. So it's definitely observable data. I mean, the brain injuries that he noticed, they all share the same trait, and it's called, I'm going to mess this up, but it's called a putanim, and it's where the brain is actually overdeveloped. And most of these people have this trait, and they figured out this is where the part of the brain where intuition happens. And many of these people have higher functioning brains, like pilots and stuff, because in order to be able to quick thinker, assess your situation quickly, these pilots have these type of higher functions in the brain, and these are the brains that are showing the other signs of the scar tissue as well, which is kind of interesting.
That scar tissue that they were showing in the brain, to me, it almost looks identical to, when I see people with post-concussion syndrome, CTE, they call it.
Really?
Where you're having this scarring in the brain from too many head injuries. A lot of football players have it. Football players who have taken their own lives when they've had their brain studied at Boston University, who's conducting the study. They are showing this type of, what do they call it? Entropy? Is it entropy? Pardon me if I got the medical term wrong regarding the brain. Like it's almost dying inside. I'm wondering if this is something like the same thing.
Well, that's very interesting. I'm going to have to actually look that up because that's a point of view that I haven't taken yet, and that's a track that I'd be interested in looking up.
Very true. Where does Gary Nolan? We got about a minute left here. Where does Gary Nolan see his studies going towards the future?
That's one of the things where you're talking about a gentleman that he's a scientist. He wants to tried and true, but realistically, I'm still at a loss of where he sees it in the future. Unfortunately, I was in a position where I have not researched it to the point where I understand what his direction is on it, unfortunately.
Well, you know what? We're soon going to learn, because I think we're going to see more and more of Gary Nolan coming into the public forefront here, much like Luis Elizondo has been for the last few years. And I think we're going to see more of him. The fact that his education stands for itself, his studies are eventually going to be peer reviewed on this. So I can see some good things happening here, Grant.
I do believe that as well. And one of the things I do know that he wants to revisit the physics behind this, because he's really interested in the physics as well.
Excellent. Grant Baker is here filling in for Tim Senor on the UFO report tonight. And when we return from the break, we're going to go back over to NASA, who are seeking the science behind UFOs. Yep, some of this stuff you just can't make up. Thank you, NASA, for your brilliancy. We'll get into that next. Shirky Poo's News right after that. Here we go. All right, we're clear.
John Davies, how you doing, my man? Oh, by the way, I shouldn't lift up my arm. I still have grease on my arm from working on my truck today.
What were you doing to your truck?
I'm going through a midlife crisis, and I thought I needed a mini truck, so I slammed out my mini truck and found out that the bump stops are getting away, so I had to massage those, i.e., take a sawzall to them and cut them in half. I'm having fun. It's a good little truck.
Good.
It's a toy.
Good. Yeah, I have been struggling this summer because earlier this year, I bought myself a Jeep. Okay. And the whole goal of it was summer's going to be warm. I get to put the top down, go down, look for Sasquatch, go out in the forest and, hang out. Maybe, have one of, throw some towels in the back, go for a swim in a lake, come out screaming that there's leeches all over me, fun summer times.
Yeah.
And then back on June 23rd, my daughter decides to drive her boyfriend's car up, and the transmission failed.
Oh no!
In a Subaru. Well, in big towns alone, it's hard to get parts for Subarus. Try being in a little town. So I went to my mechanic and I said, I own a Jeep. I bought a Jeep this year because I wanted to put the top down and go cruising. Instead, my Jeep is 4 hours away with my daughter driving it because you haven't fixed her frickin' car yet. Well, we ordered the parts, but we got the wrong parts in. We needed the front part. They sent us the back part. I said, I don't care. I want my Jeep. Dave can't have his Jeep unless his Jeep is in his driveway, not 4 hours away. So I'm pissed off about this, man.
Oh, yeah, I would be too.
Really pissed off about this. I like driving down the road, and there's a certain thing Jeep Wrangler owners do, or YJs or TJs or whatever. You give the Jeep wave.
Yep.
The newest Jeep always has to wave first. The 4-door Jeepers, they don't understand that because they're too cool for school.
Oh.
The only reason why they bought their 4-door Jeep, the most of them, is because it's a trendy thing to do. Those vehicles will never see a day off road.
Have you seen the truck ones?
Yeah, I don't like them. Not a fan of those. What's weird about the truck ones is those have been sold in the Middle East for decades.
That impresses me, actually.
Yeah. And what do they do? What do they do with them over there? They put 50 caliber machine guns on the back of them.
My type of Jeep.
Right? So anyways, all I want to do this summer is drive my Jeep with the top down. And I said to the idiot, I said, by the time you get done with this, summer's going to be over.
Oh, no.
I said, then you wasted a year of my payments. I could have bought the Jeep next year.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm going to have to send you a couple pictures of some of the Jeeps I've owned. So I had a 1980 CJ5 I called Duke. No relation to World Bigfoot Radio. It just had the 2.5 liter Iron Duke engine in it. And then I had an 87 CJ7 or an 85 CJ7, and then a 90 Wrangler as well. And every single one of them were my fit. I would take those fishing. I'd crawl over anything. Didn't care if it got dinged. My CJ5, you could pour a bucket of water in it, and it would just go straight to the ground.
Beautiful. That's exactly what. And dude, I put bigger tires on there. I put a 2.5-inch lift. I put a stereo in there. I just got to get the speakers fixed. New speakers for it. And I can't, because my kid has my Jeep. Pissed off. All right, here we go. We're rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to remind you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read Shirky Poo's Newswire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on TikTok at Spaced Out Radio. Grant Baker's here filling in for Tim Senor on the UFO report. Grant, we're glad to have you here. All right, next big story, NASA making the news in Scientific American now about how proud they are to be in the UFO game. Pulling my hair out. My hair is looking terrible. Grant. Tell me about it.
Oh my gosh. I mean, so we've covered this a couple times, and realistically, when you have NASA, who's been in space for 60 years, you know, and they're like, oh yeah, we want to get into this game. It's great. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, NASA already collects extensive information with a ton of probes and sensors that they have, you know, circling the planet, such as Terra Suomi National Polarity Orbiting Partnership, MPP. I had to read that one in CloudSat. Like they I mean, any of these can be turned on to pick up and identify UAP. And I'm sure that the data that they have in the past they've already been able to verify this. And then you have them saying, oh yeah, we're going to get into this game like other people, you know, and they're kind of having a little bit of a war with Avi Loeb. But what's going on here is the fact that you have a space agency who hasn't been watching space. They know where every single other piece of trash is up there. You see the pictures of it with the cool memes and all that stuff flying around. You don't think they're going to find anything else that's going on in the atmosphere. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're going to dedicate $100,000 to this. Excuse me? Like, I have $100,000 in cars. That's nothing. Like, what are you guys doing? Gosh, man.
That's a lot of ink on the printer, man.
That's about all it's worth. It's just ink on a printer. I mean, I understand that it doesn't matter who puts out the information realistically. And even Avi said that. I mean, he quoted it in one of his talks about this whole deal. And he's like, you know, he tried to even go in cahoots with them and talk to them about it. And they just kind of shut him down. Of course, he started the Galileo project, and they already got that thing off the ground where they got the sensors and stuff on the roof of the building. But literally, you know, at least Avi's one of the kind of people, like, if there's someone pursuing the research and pushing the agenda, so to speak, I mean, it doesn't matter who does it, but realistically, I don't have a lot of faith in NASA, because realistically, if NASA unfortunately doesn't find something, then everybody's going to go into that, you know, woo mode, like, oh, look at them, they're just hiding it again, and I don't even want to say the word.
Well, you know, look, this disappointment of NASA is valued. Yeah. It's worthy. You know, it's not the $100,000, Grant. It's not the $100,000 they're spending on this. All right. It's the fact that Bill Nelson, a former NASA astronaut himself, has the audacity, because he's the man, whether he's there full-time, permanently, or just interim, he's the man He's got the keys. How about opening up one of them closets? I know I've said this before. I'm sure people are like, come on, Dave, move on with this. But somebody has to keep the pressure up. Somebody has to keep it in the limelight that NASA is fooling us. They are playing us as fools. And it's ridiculous to see them do this. And people all over Twitter and the internet are gushing over this move that NASA has joined the UFO watch.
Yes, they're joining it, but look at the times. You know, you're talking about a basically an establishment that has poo-pooed on anybody that says that there's life outside of Earth. You know, they're saying, oh, you know, I see extraterrestrials on this planet, or proof of extraterrestrials on this, that, and the other, and NASA just laughed at it. But now we're talking about a time now where it is no longer scorned, it's no longer laughed at. All the laughing is gone, and so they're like, oh well, maybe we should catch up. I mean, it's emerging in a climate where we're already discussing life on other planets. You already have things like the James Webb Space Telescope looking for signatures. And recently they think they found something already, like yesterday. So it's one of those deals where NASA is just coming in a day late and a dollar short to me. I think they're not playing the game right.
No, I mean, the idea that they are, I mean, how can I put it? Let's quote Avi Loeb on this, because you brought up Avi Loeb in this story.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, to me, it's really a contradiction. If there is someone pursuing the research agenda that you're trying to study, why wouldn't you collaborate with that person? Like Galileo Project. Basically, what Loeb is saying is, let us look at your UFO files, NASA. Let us go in there. You have them somewhere. We need to discuss these. We need to talk about these. They're there. You know? Who knows where? We know Gemini was followed.
Mm-hmm.
We know Apollo astronauts were followed. We know the shuttle was followed. And we know that the current rockets going up from SpaceX are being followed as well. And that includes Russian rockets taking cosmonauts and astronauts back up to the International Space Station. We know this. There's enough video, there's enough astronaut evidence to talk about this. Bill Nelson himself has seen things. Well, if you've seen things, Bill, why don't you go pull your file?
You know, and that's one of the things that I think they're worried about is they're not going to say anything about the past. They're just not going to do it. I mean, really, ultimately what matters is the truth. We just want the truth. NASA's never going to admit to it, and they're scared. I think the biggest reason, and it's not just NASA, because NASA has a lot of data. You want to spend that $100,000, right? Put it in computer programs or people that can run those. Maybe just hire a team of people, say, hey, I'm going to give you guys this much for this year, and find it. Let them crunch data, let them figure out the programs, and then crunch the data, find all the little algorithms or whatever they need to do to pull that data out of the darkness and be like, oh, this is what we've seen here, this anomalous. Here's what we see here, this anomalous. And find all these anomalies, and then have an actual human look over it and be like, oh yeah, okay, no, that's weird. What is this? You know, like Avi Loeb's little space rock that hit the water, and now he's wanting to go out and catch it with magnets. Like, at least he's doing something where NASA's like, oh, you know, yeah, no, we're not going to crunch that data. You got to understand, NASA has more satellites in the air. I mean, there's every country has satellites in the air, but they have a lot of sensors, and any used DoD or military sensors that they're not using, they're out of date and they've replaced, they allow NASA to have the old stuff. And so they have plenty of data, and they're just not giving it up. And I think it's just a slap in the face for anybody. I mean, you have people there. I even heard a story today, yes, it was this morning, where I was listening to a broadcast, and someone had said that, yeah, they looked out into the space shuttle window and there was literally a ship right there on the old space shuttle with the doors open, the top hatches were open, and there was a shuttle a craft sitting there, and there was two humans on a spacewalk out there with it. It's just, come on, guys. You want to cut your feet every time an anomalous object goes past it. And I'm not talking about the people that say, oh, those are bubbles. No, dude, I don't care about any of that jazz. Like, literally, these are craft and you can see them. And we know they know, man. Just give up the goods. You don't need $100,000 to do that.
No, you don't. You don't need 100,000 to do that. All you need to do is try some honesty. Honesty is free.
Yep, 100%. I mean, they've been getting this. Unfortunately, the way they have been approaching this is like they've not been approaching it right. And so now they're finally dipping their toes into the water and saying, oh, and last minute, by the way, this is something that they just shocked everybody with. And we're like, yeah, we're going to do this now. Okay. Well, it's $1 late, or is it basically a day late and $1 short?
How does NASA save face on this? Let's just be honest here. How do they save face on this?
They don't. I mean, to pretend like it's not something interesting doesn't help. It's literally they're NASA's not telling us what's true. You can't save face from that unless you just sit there and open up the files and be like, okay, guess what? Sorry, it is what it is. Okay, we'll forgive you. We'll forgive you. We'll be a little irritated at you, but let us have the data. If you just open up, be truthful, that's all you need to do. I mean, it's not no weird sea theory, you know what I mean? It's literally just open it up, tell us what you know, and we'll be happy. It's not going to shock anybody.
In the chat room, Susie B going off the top rope with an elbow to NASA's solar plexus. At least the lies are being recorded by never a straight answer. Love it. Love it. Had to bring that one up. Well, we got a couple minutes here, Grant, before we got to let you go at the top of the hour here. And I got to get to Shirky Poo's news, because Lord knows if I don't, Shirky Poo is going to, smack me across the side of the head or something with a pillow. That's what she does. But in regards to the research, what is NASA looking to conduct with this $100,000? Because people like Avi Loeb, like you said, don't seem too impressed. And even Adam Frank, an astrophysicist with the University of Rochester, is saying, I think the UAP stuff is emerging in a climate where we are already discussing life in the universe in a new way. Now that the giggle factor for scientific research for life in this universe has gone down, it is possible this also makes it easier for people to discuss UAPs. Now, what I'm getting out of that is, you know what? We're already starting to discuss it, NASA. Everybody's talking about it. Nobody's laughing about it. You guys hold the keys for the last 65 years.
Yep.
What do you got?
They've held the keys. And I mean, it just like I said, if they don't care about it, that's one thing or another. I don't get it. Like until somebody builds a perfect system that captures all the data at all times, at all levels of detail, NASA's not going to give jack. They're not going to care, which is kind of why I like the fact that Avi Loeb's doing what he's doing, because he's the one that's building this and he's not signing NDAs. He doesn't want to know what the government knows, because then he's going to have to be quiet about it. And so realistically, I think it's more of a fight between NASA and Avi, and I'm going to be in Avi's corner because NASA's not giving us nothing. I mean, you're unlikely to get any kind of straight answer from them, to be on the. Unfortunately, I mean, it's just going to be what it is. So I'm waiting to see what the Galileo project comes out with, and they might have to force NASA's hand. I mean, they actually approached NASA and tried to do like we were talking about before and collaborate on this. And, they're overlapping fields that they're doing. They're literally, one happens to have more sensors And Avi's kind of the little man out when it comes to bankroll, but he's doing it the right way. And I think if NASA could just take a page out of that book and be like, hey, okay, we'll help you out. And I don't care if it's binary code, just give him the data and then he'll figure it out and let us have it. I don't care if it's a million gigs of information. Set it out there, man. You have billions of people on this earth, and millions of them are more than dedicated and willing to sit there and sift through the data.
Well, you know what? We're going to keep our eye on it, Grant. We got to keep our eyes on it, because in the end, they do have the answers, and they may hide them from us again.
Oh, they will.
And come out and say, oh, we didn't find anything. Our $100,000, didn't find anything.
If they don't find anything, you're going right back to the sea theorists, where they're going to literally come up and be like, see, I told you, they're hiding everything. And I mean, it's either way. Once they get into this game, they're going to lose face if they don't find something, because it's too late.
Very, very true. Grant, thank you for filling in for Tim Senor on the UFO Report. You did a great job this past weekend with After Hours. Look forward to hearing you again this weekend on After Hours once again.
Thank you, sir. All
right, let's get to Shirky Poo's news.
What time is it? It's time for Shirky Poo.
All right, let's see what Shirky Poo has for us tonight. Well, let's start off in Utah, where the message is, kids, don't try this at home, or anywhere for that matter. A man told authorities he tried to burn a spider with a lighter after he was arrested instead for igniting a 60-acre wildfire in drought-stricken Utah. The suspect, who was in the area with his dog, was arrested Monday afternoon on reckless burning and drug charges, according to the Utah County Sheriff's Office. He told responding deputies he had tried using a lighter to burn a spider before the blaze began, moving between Springville and Provo. The Salt Lake Tribune stated the fire didn't destroy any buildings or prompt any evacuations, but the man's actions caught the attention of Utah Governor Spencer Cox. Don't do drugs, kids, and don't start spiders on fire during a drought, Cox tweeted late Monday. That's a sense of humor. Sergeant Spencer Cannon stated, we're not sure exactly why he felt the need to have to burn the spider, but all the regret in the world doesn't change the outcome based on whatever reason there was for him doing that. Spider, forest fire. Don't burn the spider. No. Though not everyone is convinced, a team of archaeologists in Spain have put forward a cautiously optimistic argument that the Temple of Hercules can be found in the Bay of Cadiz. Most archaeological discoveries are made from digging in the ground, but the possible Temple of Hercules was spotted from the air. Ricardo Belizon, a graduate archaeology student from the University of Seville, spotted an intriguing outline while studying topographic models. While looking through the data from Spain's PNOA LIDAR project, which has been mapping the country since 2009, Belizon said saw an intriguing structure submerged in the Cano de Sancti Petri in the Bay of Cadiz. It appeared to be about 1,000 feet long and 500 feet wide. Though he had hoped to uncover what Cadiz's coastline looked like in ancient times, Belizon may have instead stumbled upon the Temple of Hercules. The submerged ruins seem to match what archaeologists and historians know about the lost temple. We researchers are very reluctant to turn archaeology into a spectacle, noted Francisco Jose Garcia, the director of the Department of Prehistory and Archaeology at Seville University, while presenting the discovery. But in this case, we are faced with some spectacular findings. They are of great significance. Researchers believe that the coastline looked different thousands of years ago. Belizon's research suggests that the bay was once a totally anthropized coastline with a large building, the possible temple, several breakwaters, moorings, and an inner harbor. Wow. Could you imagine finding that temple? That would be cool. Yep. Don't go in the ocean, people. Just stop going in the ocean, for God's sakes. Seriously, it's getting ridiculous. A California woman was taking some photos of whales off the coast of Pismo State Beach. Well, she captured something that nobody should capture, and that is a great white shark flying into the air at least 58 to 75 feet, well, more like 12, and made a flying leap back into the water. Callie Brooks said that she was at the beach with her son's junior lifeguard camp and was taking pictures of nearby whales when the shark went soaring into her shot. The photo shows the shark leaping several feet into the air over the water. Chris Lowe, the director of California State University's Long Beach's Shark Lab, said the photographed fish appears to be a great white. It could also be a mako, but it looks like a white shark based on its proportions and shape of its fins. Lowe said experts are not sure why sharks breach the way they do. I personally think they are doing it to dislodge parasites, so they have parasites on their backs and they move around when they do that, and it's itchy. By jumping into the water or out of the water and then slamming back in, it knocks those parasites off. Either way, that fish is going to eat you. You don't need to go in the water. And you know what? Not even Grant's mustache could help this. No, it's a powerful one, but I don't think the sharks care. I don't. Either way, thank you to Shirky Poo for the wonderful news today. Thank you for Grant Baker filling in for Tim Senor on the UFO Report. We always have a big thanks for our resident swamp dweller for another spooky story. And of course, JIULIO Consiglio hanging on out with us, talking to UFOs and ET contact all night long. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at home, at work, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAP, Facebook, the Space Travelers Club, Spreaker, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. I know you're out there somewhere. Remember, this show is copyrighted by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night. All right, we're clear. Look at you, little Granty Poo.
What's up, man?
Look at you, little Granty Poo.
Oh, I'm running a filter real quick.
I got to figure out on YouTube how to do that 1 minute that you have to be a member of the chat room or a subscriber to the chat room for 1 minute before you can comment. It's going to kill all those nudie things.
Oh, that'd be great.
Yeah. I got to figure that out. That's my goal for tomorrow.
I think I'd time that one out, but I don't know if I got to it fast enough. The wrenches are so quick.
Yeah, they don't like their SOR messed with, man.
Nope.
Like, screw you, man. You don't mess with our SOR. Got it?
Got it. Good.
Got it. They're like, get off our lawn, you nasty porno sites.
Goodness gracious. I'm having a heck of a time with my finances here, Dave.
Why?
Oh, I'm just Uncle Sam's gonna kick my butt this year, I'll tell you.
Oh no.
Oh, it's okay. I'm working on it right now.
Oh no.
There we go. It'll be okay. Lots of gas receipts, I'll tell you that. Lots of fuel receipts. Lots and lots.
Are you saving your lunch receipts?
Not the lunch receipts. I don't save those. I don't mess around with food or clothes because they don't really like me doing that kind of stuff. Tires, fuel, chemicals, any kind of product I do. I bought it. Everything. My cell phone, you know, the everything. The insurance. I mean, I pay, oh gosh, I don't even want to tell you what I pay, but just for bonding, licensing and everything, it's high.
How much do you pay for car insurance? Like, say on your truck, what's your annual fee on that?
So, like, if it's my own personal truck, let's say full coverage, okay, I'm paying what, $100 a month, something like that on my own personal. But when it comes to a business,
Hi there.
yeah, when it comes to a business, then they charge you. It's like $2,000 a year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So your insurance rates are pretty much the same as here.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. But you know, I mean, you go from $500,000 to $1 million and stuff like that, and then they're okay with it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's worth it. And it's all it is. You know, I'm not going to ruin anybody's personal property. You know, their carpets. I've been doing it long enough to where it's not going to ruin their carpets. I know what I'm doing, and I don't have any problems with that. But if you get in an accident, because that's primarily my job, I'm driving around all day long, and so then it's just it's wild. They just charge you in every way, shape, or form. Google charges you. IRS doesn't until the end of the year. So if you want to get an employer identification number, that's free. Yeah, we want to go ahead and tax the snot out of you. But then the secretary, or the secretary of state, the secretary, whatever the heck it is, I can't even think now. But you got to pay for that and register your business. It's every little turn you take, someone wants something.
You know what I want?
What's that?
I want the mustache back.
Oh, it's coming. Look, it'll come.
Yeah.
Yep, I got all that taken care of.
I know.
Yep, you should. I'm going to tell you, Dave, it was hilarious. So when I told you what I was doing, and for anybody that doesn't know, I literally I had to shave it for a specific reason. But I went walking through the house, and my significant other's sitting there doing her job and stuff. Didn't notice me, talked to me because she has 2 screens in front of her. And my daughter comes up and she goes, and Dad, and she was saying something. She stops and looks at me. She goes, "What's wrong with your face?" And then my son goes, he hears her and looks at me and he goes, "You look weird." I'm like, "Thanks, guys."
Oh, you gotta love kids sometime.
Oh yeah, just the no fear and the complete honesty. It just boils out of them. Well, I mean, I went to take my youngest, who is 4, to swim lessons, and it was me and another gentleman who was standing next to me at the locker room after we'd already got done with swimming lessons. And my son looks at this guy and goes, "Look, Dad, he's got a belly like yours." Thanks, son. He laughed. He took it well. Oh my goodness.
That's awesome. Gotta love kids. Gotta love kids. How's your boy feeling?
He's doing all right. He still has a little over 100, 101 something temperature.
Oh,
way better than 104.5 though.
That's scary, man. You must have been creeping out a little bit.
Oh yeah. Oh well, living with who I live with, she went straight to the cabinet and did some Dr. Seuss stuff to some bottles and said, "Here, swallow this." And it went from 104.5 to 102 within 20, 30 minutes. Like, it was crazy. So then we let him go to bed, and he slept pretty much all night, which was really nice. But this morning he decided, he had 101 and a half. And so he decided he was just going to hang out with Dad today. And I warned him. I said, "It's going to be a busy day." "No, it's okay." He literally went shopping. He got a slinky that I've never seen a slinky this big before. I mean, the thing is like that big around and that tall. Works great down the stairs. But he had a lot of fun today. I treated him out.
Hey, little Marky Spender is here. Little Marky Spender. Yeah, that's my friend right there. Yeah. Little Marky Spender, Mark. He's cutting wood all night at the mill, standing around watching the workers work while he eats pizza, getting tomato sauce all over his goatee.
With his phone in his hand, watching SOR.
Pretty much.
Best job in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. What's funny about Mark, him and his wife and their daughter, they have this little dog, Baxter, who's a Boston Terrier.
Mm-hmm.
And every now and again, Baxter will climb up on Mark's lap or Tara's lap, and will be pawing at the phone to see me, to watch me on. He watches more SOR than Mark does.
That's awesome. They probably just put on reruns and stuff all day long when they're gone.
If they do. The dog's got taste.
Yeah.
Lord sure as hell knows that Mark's not gonna, impress him.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. That's my buddy there.
That's awesome.
All right. Jonathan's daughter, Daisy, is 14 on Saturday. Oh, John, you poor thing. She's going to hate you soon.
At 14, I'm surprised it already hasn't happened.
Yeah. Sorry, John.
I like John. He's a good guy.
On Saturday, John officially turns the man to blame for everything in life.
Well, I don't want to hear about it, Dave, because mine's 9 and going on 39. So by the time she's 14, I don't know if I'm going to be alive. This little girl is going to eat me alive, man. She is off her chain.
Hey, at least you only got to do it once. I had to do it twice.
Oh, gosh.
Oh, yeah. I had to do it twice.
Yeah.
I don't recommend it.
Well, let's see. Hasn't gotten there yet, so give me about 2 years and it's going to either be gone or completely white.
You're going to be my twin.
Yeah. Then I'll have to grow out the whole beard and grow out the hair.
Yeah. Yep. It's amazing.
Later, more alcohol by Lunar Sparkles. Leave it to me to pick up the one alcohol line in the whole mix.
Yeah. You want to talk about a wimp of a parent? You should see Mark. his daughter Katie. Just a beautiful soul, absolutely beautiful soul. And Mark is the biggest wimp to her. It's hilarious to watch. It really is hilarious to watch. Because I think if Katie said to Mark, "Hey Dad, will you go down to Vancouver and buy me a Ferrari?" Mark would. He's a wimp that way.
Mark, you want to be friends, bud? I got my eye on a Lamborghini right now, man. Need an extra son?
No, he'll just want to shoot you in the leg.
Oh, well, that's fine.
Yeah. Can't trust him. Can't trust him. Everybody could outrun him. I mean, he's old, right? He's real old. This year he turned, what was it, 77, 78? I'm not talking the year of his birth either. He an old bastard.
Uh-oh, you better watch out. Looks like Katie's listening.
Mark's on his way home. He hasn't even passed my house yet.
He's probably gonna, he'll honk when he does. That's one thing. I can't wait until I get my truck back out of the shop, man. First thing that's going in it, I found an amazing train horn, and it's called the Conductor Nightmares Edition or Nightmare Special. Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Hold on. I forgot to pull the swear word out.
Uh-oh. Did I do one?
No.
Oh.
No, I forgot to pull it out. We'll go here too. Shoot. Oh, there we go. That's how. So we got the 10-minute mark. Okay, so we come on at 10 minutes right here. Somewhere around here.
Spirituality, or whether we're talking about this phenomena. So again, I sort of side with Dr. Stephen Greer where, disclosure's not going to really come truly from these agencies, but from direct experience, from hearing friends having experiences. Since we've been having these experiences back here, some of my neighbors' friends have opened up to it and they're having experiences. I brought my sisters over one night and like clockwork, they had quite a sighting, and my niece was here as well and my two neighbors. So that's how I see it sort of truly happening.
Do you think the government has... Hold on. So this happened at 10:10. So it'd be around the 4-minute mark here. 2, 4. Sorry, Gary Nolan. I think he is somebody who lets the statistics speak for themselves in a highly controversial subject. Do you see a time when, maybe more schools, universities, scientific research facilities are going to start looking into this more on their own?
I think they're not going to, have any other option but do so, because the more that people have these experiences, the more that people come forward and seek answers, or suddenly, from what I've experienced, it's very life shifting and life changing. So someone who, for example, doesn't have that spiritual maturity and having experienced something can sort of shock the system. I can understand that, or even challenge your beliefs, especially in terms of reality and what's possible. So I think they're gonna have no other choice but to discuss this more, talk about it more, research it, and engage with people who've had these experiences.
Okay, so why is it important for the experiencers to be heard through this entire testimony that many people are calling disclosure?
I think it's important because it gives people who maybe don't have a voice to sort of come forward and to share similar experiences. So I think it's an opportunity for understanding, and to just, I think on a general level, open people's minds more and more that this phenomena does exist, it does take place, and the experiences are quite personal. So one person's experience will be somewhat different from someone else's, and it's all on perception.
See, I'm
my personal experience hasn't been anything like that. If anything, it's actually expanded my awareness further. So I would approach.
Oh, son of a gun! Mother of pearl! Played the wrong half hour. What a doughhead! Ridiculous.
Was it when you were talking about bright flashing lights?
4 minutes right there.
Coming towards me, and their backs were facing it, my two neighbors, the triangle came in. Only this time, when I saw it, it was more holographic than it was a 3D craft like the first night. So I screamed out, "Triangle, it's back." They turned around, and it was like a profound experience. So they were just sort of like unbelievable. We watched it cruise over the property, lean over the neighbor's property, and vanish in front of our eyes. So we stood there for a few minutes, awestruck. We sort of moved about, but then we ended up essentially back in our positions. And again, I was facing the parking lot. Now, this second time, so a few minutes later, it reappeared. Same trajectory, only this time, and I'll explain this. So take a triangle, slice it from top to bottom. So from the point to the bottom. Now slice it in half. This time, it reappeared, and it was shape-shifting back and forth as 4 pieces. I said, "It's back." Matt screamed at me, "Bullshit." I said, "Turn around."
There it is.
We all turned around, and this Matt screamed at me, "Bullshit." Bullshit.
Okay, that one's gone. Save. Okay, that one's done.
Thank you, Black Dragon, for nipping those out for us, my man.
What do you? Oh yeah.
They were present. I think a big one is to make it easier to be able to speak about it, because it's from this point, like for the last several months, for example, it's now been taking place when I'm alone, or I've always had this sense that it's always around me. And early July, I was at my sister's house, and we're in the backyard, and I said, "Give it a few minutes." And within a few minutes, craft came in, left side, no blinking, just low, couple of 100 feet, silent, slow. She was seeing, my sister, she was seeing the spontaneous flashes. She was watching me say, "Do it again," and it would happen again. It's now been
you just about you, or you weren't going crazy or anything like that.
I think the reason that they were present, I think a big one is to make it easier to be able to speak about it, because it's from this point, like for the last several months, for example, it's now been taking place when I'm alone, or I've always had this sense that it's always around me. And early July, I was at my sister's house, and we're in the backyard, and I said, "Give it a few minutes." And within a few minutes, craft came in, left side, no blinking, just low, couple of 100 feet, silent, slow. She was seeing, my sister, she was seeing the spontaneous flashes. She was watching me say, "Do it again," and it would happen again. So I've come to realize there is a connection between this craft and myself, and I go into it more.
What the hell is it?
The point to the bottom. Now slice it in half. This time, it reappeared and it was shape-shifting back and forth as 4 pieces. I said, it's back. Matt screamed at me, bullshit. I said, turn on. Bullshit.
I love it.
Hey, you can't make this shit up.
It's bullshit, man. For those that are hearing impaired, it's literally.
That's the way we roll.
Yep.
All right, now I can get to work properly. Crap like this always happens when little Marquis Spender comes around.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, my man.
You get out of here. You're tired.
Yeah, I got a full day tomorrow too.
There you go, brother.
Hey, you guys have a good one.
Thank you, bud. We'll see you on Saturday night. No, we won't. I'm filling in Saturday night.
Oh, you should have just surprised everybody with that. But yeah, no, I'm gonna be at a Daughtry concert. I forgot about it again, man. She's gonna kill me. My wife is gonna kill me.
Yeah, she is.
Yeah,
you'll figure it out.
That's all right. I'll just make sure to make out a will. What do you want in it? Good night, everybody.
See you, bud.
Bye.
All right, I'm going to take a quick bathroom break. I will be right back, my friends. All right. That one is done. Oh, sorry about that. You guys having a good night? No, Dave doesn't do that. Hey, Susie B. Yes, thanks, Dave. The Doug Shelby is still awake. The Doug Shelby. You know, for a long time there, the Doug Shelby didn't like it, but now he's grown used to it. That's how we roll. Yeah, Dave really needs his Jeep. Dave's getting pissed off about that. Dave doesn't like that. "35th anniversary of Def Leppard's Hysteria." Seriously, where did time go? Def Leppard, God bless him. Hi, Lunar Tina. Raul, you're always so positive. I'm going to call you Mr. Positive from now on. It's almost done. That one's done. Perfect timing. See what's happening in Africa while we wait. Namibia, nothing. Tau, anything? Gazelle. Jeez, that's terrible. Oliphants River. Nope. Nothing. Tembe. Nothing. Holy cow. Nothing on here. Rosie's Pan. Nothing. Holy cow, these porno sites are terrible tonight. Yeah, I gotta figure that out tomorrow or right now. Oh, two. Okay, tap the lock in tap the lock in the bottom corner of any. That's not what I wanted. No. Prevent. Here's an article. I don't need to know about the fake accounts. I need to know about YouTube chat. Let's go over there. Hey, it's the gorgeous JB Lynn Ricketts. How are you? We are 31 people away from 18,000 That's pretty cool. Settings. Is it in settings? Community. That ain't it. Let's go up here. But I wonder if it's in here. I don't think so. Sorry, guys. I'm trying to figure out this whole thing here. Nice, Super Duke. Nice. Well deserved. Well deserved. There's a time limit. How to put... Okay, go to live control room. Where the hell is the live control room? YouTube Studio. YouTube Studio. No, that ain't it. Permissions? Community? No, that ain't it. What the hell is a live control room? I did, Jamie Lynn Ricketts. I totally did. They're in my studio, just over there. Control room. It's because I'm live. I can't do it right now. Maybe that's why. Well, I'm going to say goodnight here tonight. Tomorrow night on the show, Lala Bright is here to talk about psychic intuition and remote viewing. Be a good show. Science Bob may join us with her as well. And we'll have some fun. And appreciate you all tuning in. Thank you to G West, Simon, and D Moore for the super chats tonight. Very much appreciate it. You guys have yourself a wonderful night. We'll see you all tomorrow. Have a good one.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
You need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.